is only war.
Sweet. All right, Derek, take it away.
All right. What is up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. We got the Dirtbag Nation. We got Doug and Keevil. We just got back from LSO. We did a sweep 6-0 with Chaos Colts. Everybody said it couldn't be done. We went 7-1 at, what was it, ACO? And then we just brought almost a similar list because now it's Pariah Nexus to LSO, which was an awesome event out in Texas. So I got two Dirtbags on here, coaches, the Dirtbag Nation, who's kind of like interview, somewhat of a podcast type feel. We'll get into that in a little bit. But if you guys want to introduce yourselves, kind of tell everybody, who you are, how long you've been here, and what we're going to be talking about today. So, Keevil, we started off with you.
Cool. What's up, guys? I'm Mike. Been playing 40k since 9th edition. My kids got me into it, and then I got into it, and then I found out about all of you guys, and I was like, okay, this is incredible. I'm totally into it. I play Chaos Space Marines because I'm dad, and I met Derek at a local RTT, and then we just kind of hit it off, and then he started the whole Dirtbag Nation thing, and I jumped on there, and yeah, I'm a coach in the CSM chat. So if you see me there, say what's up.
Excuse me. I'm Doug. I'm one of the coaches as well. I'm focused on CSM, but I play all Chaos, and been playing since end of 2nd edition when me and my friends got into it, and we were terrible forever, and then started playing more seriously in 9th. So happy to be here and very excited to talk about an awesome list, an awesome event, and some just really cool performance, so you can see, because this is like, this was meme tier. And now we got two outstanding performances.
Now, if you guys are part of the Discord, which you probably should join, we have over 1,000 people. Doug literally is in every single chat. Like, Doug is a huge on the back part of the Dirtbag Nation. Like, Doug helps out with literally everybody. Keevil and I were the two at LSO. Doug didn't happen to go out there, and maybe next time. But we got a bunch of dirtbags that we actually met out there, part of the Patreons, which was the first time we had that group of people all come up, take photos, hang out, go to dinner, all that. It was just such a cool feel growing the Dirtbag Nation so fast, and we just want to keep growing. Obviously, after we get to 10,000 subscribers, which we're so close to, but seeing it grow in front of your eyes, even Keevil, like he's the one that's pushing me even more to try and get this thing to grow as much as he possibly can. Keevil's actually ran nonprofits back in the day, which is such huge, grow. You can talk about Keevil, but like he had the experience. I was just a freaking noob coming in and was pretty good at 40k and like just started YouTube, and it just kind of exploded. So he's the more organized part of the Dirtbags, and then Doug is like the back end genius with the Dirtbag Nation. So they prepared this whole interview for us, so we're going to go through all that in the video. I did a preview video. I posted that already on YouTube, but it's going to be a little bit longer of a video if you guys don't mind. Hopefully we'll get somewhat of a podcast thing going if this does well, and if it does do well, we literally talk for hours honestly on Patreon, so it's gonna be cool to see what the page I
think that was the word you're looking for. I just wasn't sure.
And then if it does well, we'll start the podcast, which is going to be freaking awesome.
We should cut that.
We already cut it. So we're going to have so many fuck ups this thing. It doesn't matter. So podcast going to be sick. So I can't wait for the podcast. So if you guys want to take it away, we have a little script. We'll get going, and then we got the pictures of game by game. Some of them don't have a ton of pictures because we were so focused, and it got harder and harder as we played. But we did get 2 stream games at War Games Live. One was for the Patreon page. The other one was live last game tournament. So that was really cool to watch out. So if you guys want to take it away.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, like, for me, 20 years in the Marine Corps, as I'm like transitioning out, I did veteran nonprofit for a while. And of course, like coming from a team environment, but an interesting thing that I've found in 40K, it's like people from all walks of life, right? Like, And so talking to Derek and then meeting Doug throughout the way, it's like, how do we export the conversations that we have? Doug is going to be super humble, but like Doug was in my ear when I was at the GT, and Derek was like, hey, is Doug texting you during the games? I was like, yeah, dude. He's like hitting me up about things. But of course, like Derek's the superstar. He's on stream. But
I can't look at my phone while like on stream.
Well, I mean, most of the work really is just like, making sure you guys know what to look out for when you're going in, just trying to get your, head straight, things to watch out for, like just trying to get you mentally aligned, because that's like the hardest thing to do after you're playing. You've been like, grinding it out most times. You're like getting done in time. Maybe you have like 20 minutes to like unwind, but then you got to reset. And so, that's my job, is to try to hit you guys up and catch that little bit of downtime you have, and point out what we can do and how you're going to succeed.
Yeah, Doug
for sure.
stalks us at the GT. He's like, "Yo, you're going against this army. Watch out for this, and this." I'm like, "Oh shit, dude, that good call." So that definitely helped out in a lot of games, and it's good to have a team, for that specific reason. Because like you guys know me, I don't know shit about this game. It's like you can ask me what's this unit name, and I'll be like, "Oh, it's the chicks with the fire flaming things."
It's really
they
funny.
do this. I'm like, yeah, and it's like, how do I win? I have no idea. So I go to my teammates, I go to Nolan, I go to all these people that know what they do, what to look out for, and it helps out by having that like team at your back to know, help you to what to look out for, because like you don't know until you play the army, and you're just like, all right, I know what to look out for. Like when I played GSC for the first time, I was like, holy shit, I got my ass kicked. But the next time I played, I knew exactly what to do and what to look out for. So when you guys have no more knowledge than I do, it's a huge win to have you guys in the corner.
Oh, for sure. And like the Discord is literally blowing up. I mean, 24/7. We have people from across the world, and it's like every tournament I've been to since joining the Dirtbags, if I come across something that I haven't gone up before, or like, hey, quick strategy tips for like this style list, I'll just throw it in the Discord, and like within 2 minutes my phone's vibrating multiple times, and just a little bit of heads up like is great. So I mean, the Discord's awesome. It's a great environment, and again, if you're searching for a team, it's awesome. We have coaches from multiple areas, but also I think more importantly, like multiple placings within GTs, right? Obviously we have Derek, like he's at the top tables. Derek and I are slugging it out in the mid tables, but I mean, like the mid tables, like if you're high mid tables, medium mid tables, and low mid tables, I mean, all 4 of those levels are completely different games with different opponents, different style armies. And honestly, like, for Derek, and we'll get into the list, but like his list was designed to kind of fight through everybody, but fight through the first couple of rounds. And now you're just in a different level versus for me, for example, like at LSO, I went 3-3. I just hit like the 3-3, 4-2 like area. It's a different game. Now, like I have to be prepared for different things, different styles of players than Derek is. And then also, we have a bunch of guys who, 2 and 4, their games are also very different from even the games that I play. So, what we have right now within the Dirtbags, it's a myriad of players from different parts, and you're going to find someone who's at your level. And again, we talk about this all the time, like, you need to find a coach. You need to find someone that is better than you. You need to find good groups of people within your local area who are at your level, above your level, and then below your level as well. Because you need to know what winning feels like. You need to know what getting smashed feels like, and then you need to know like what the grind feels like. So, anyway, Doug, you got anything on that?
No, I think that was all great. I think, the thing I like the most about the community is you have like people who play at many different levels. You have people who talk a lot, people with a lot of interest, people who go out and come back. And it's, we have, all this data. And what's great is every week, we try to get together and look at the best chaos lists that jump out. And, there's always some like good surprising ones, but oftentimes like we have people who are like, I posted that 2 weeks ago, and it's like verbatim the same list. We have like just such good creative people who really are interested in the game, and they're always interested in talking, and it's just a great community to be part of. So yeah, but we could talk more, but we gotta talk about the win. So Derek, you gotta tell us, man. 6-0. How does it feel? You've gone. This is like a huge win, man. This is a really big deal.
This is my first major win, which is really cool. I've placed, top 8, top 14, top 40 when I first started, but like this is my first actual major win, and it didn't really like hit me until I was like in the airport with Kivo and we were all walking on the plane. I was like, dude, we fucking won. Like that was, I was like, holy shit, I can't believe we literally just won a GT, like a major GT with like almost 300 people. Like it was just such a surreal feeling. Because you practice, you put all this time in, you practice just so much, and you just keep doing repetitive things about the list and stuff, and you should obviously know it like on the backhand of your hand, but it was just such a surreal feeling playing this army. And people say it's a meme list, but to me, it's an S tier army. Like this, I don't want to face it. I don't know what I would do if I faced it. I played you, and I played one Accursed Cultist unit, and I was like, I don't even want to get near that unit. Like, what the fuck? So having 3 of them on the table, and then all the cultists doing the actions is just scary. So like, I can see how it plays so well. I can see how the opponents didn't have like super strong lists into it. They weren't prepared for it. I was literally the only Chaos Cult person there, which I thought there'd be maybe one more.
No, but you're a dreamer, my friend.
Maybe with us winning, there might be more, notoriety, because we did get a lot of notoriety when we placed 4th at ACO, like Vanguard, not Vanguard, Allspec Tactics and Goonhammer. All of them I gave shout outs, which was really cool. Like, it definitely got a bunch of subs from that. But yeah, it was such a cool feeling actually being able to bring a list that you created from scratch, not copy it, test it, practice it, play 2 GTs with it, and actually win a major, which was just so cool.
I think I've had a lot of fun watching you play, and just happen to see your games. You've been around, and I've played at tournaments and seen you and watched your War Games live now a couple times, and it's so funny how easy you make it look to move that army around the table. But people just truly do not understand how hard it is. Like, I've been practicing, I've been working really hard on getting a Deceptor's list up to a serious level, because I'm a nerd. I don't know. I just have decided this is my mission in life. And I was trying to move 130 models in my last game, and I was like, I'm going to kill myself. This was awful. I don't think I ever played a list that high. Even in Tyranids, I always would find a way to like shortcut it. And to move 200 plus models like you do at that level, like, I don't know how you do it. Like, I assume you just have like iron rods in your back or something. It's unbelievable, man.
It's definitely a challenge. Like, and practice obviously makes perfect, because you'll notice there's a lot of stuff you don't need to do. Like, I don't shoot with everybody. I only shoot with like stuff that really needs to die, and some of the stuff you could just skip. If I could skip half the melee phase, I would, but I need to actually roll the dice. The major things is just killing what you have to kill and moving. I think movement phase is the key to this list. Like, you can see we can block out the board by turn 2, and if you aren't good at movement and spacing out your models like 2 inches is huge. Like, if you don't have that 2-inch widget, like, people are like, oh, are you in coherency? And I pull the widget out, and I'm like, yep, exactly 2 inches, and it looks so fucking big. But your 10-man unit of cultists could literally spread out 36 inches across the table and block out that much of the zone. So moving with this list is huge.
Yeah, I think one if we take this as like a really educational tip, that is such a big deal, and you make it look so easy, like you're really fast at like spacing everyone out and getting the most out of that. But people don't realize that it actually says in the core rules that distances are inclusive. So if you are exactly 2 inches away, if you're on either side of the widget, 2 inches is within 2 inches. So you don't have to be less than the widget. You literally just kiss, and that's why it's so, in that little bit, you don't think it adds that much, but you never have to worry about it. You just widget it out, you get it. And if you want to get better, the number one thing we all can do, all of us who aren't Derek, is like get better at the movement phase. The movement phase is like the thing that we're all the worst at, even if we don't think we are. And Derek is so good at it. That's what you got to watch his games for and learn from.
And
No,
you're
for
such
sure.
a hype man, like in all the comments with all the videos. Like I'll go back and watch the videos and be like, all right, like just reading the comments is hilarious. But like Doug, you're in the comment section, like, oh my god, did you see that? He just fucking got around fight first and just oh my god, it was like, it is hilarious.
That, but that was like such a good game too. That was the ACO, the Death Guard round 3.
That was the best game on
stream. Round 4.
Yeah.
It was like the first round of the morning, maybe round 4, and. That was just so good because you've put videos out on it. You're like so good about teaching it. It's like such an easy concept. But the thing that I've really appreciated, because now that I'm playing these much larger model counts with a bunch of cultists, is how powerful they are as a charge in the charge phase. And you like, because you're like, I watched you do it so many times. You're like, I'll charge you with all these cultists. Okay, I will tag in one guy. Enjoy your fight for some of my cultists, and this one guy gets 3 attacks. Great, you wipe the cultist. I made a save. Good, goodbye. Yeah. And you did it on stream flawlessly twice, because that's actually, you got to line your models up. You got to get the charge right. You got to think about how you're basing all of these things. It's so easy to mess all this up, and you like did it with like no loss of clock time, like fast, like no questions, boom, boom, did it on stream twice in the same game. So yeah, I was losing it in the chat because like guys, you can play a lot of Warhammer and not do these things that cleanly, like when you're playing with your friends and you have no time in the world, but to do it like that fast and you're in the 3-0 bracket, final day of a big, or second day of a big tournament, that's like, it's super hard. And so like, again, it's just, you've really like shown that you can play at the top level, and these things are things we can all learn from.
Yeah. So with that, Derek, do you want to go over like how you came up with the list and what is the list?
Yeah, let me pull up the list for you guys. I got it pulled up right here.
Come on, you got to memorize. Let's not. We can pretend. You just in his sleep. Just two dark Coenen, 3 Ahearn.
So it changed a little bit because since ACO it went up like 30 points, so it wasn't a huge change. Because I was talking to Kiva about this the other day. It's like, will they really nerf detachment that only won once and was only played by one person? So it's like, are they really going to step in and like nerf the entire list? Because like you guys say, I don't think everybody's going to run it, but also what's Game Workshop thinking? Like, do they actually see this shit? Like, am I in their radar? Like, is the Cursed Cultist in their radar?
I would love to know. I would love to know.
Curious.
I'm gonna ask Joshua Roberts or whoever they know at James Workshop. I'll James up and ask him, do people know how sweet this list is and that they need to nerf it? Otherwise, when he shows up, because you're qualified now for the World Championships, right? In Atlanta.
So I still didn't get an email from him. I have no idea.
Whatever. But like, I wouldn't sweat that. They come on, man. They're trying to struggle to produce models right now. Don't ask them so much of them. They're a very small company. They really can't multitask. Yeah. My point was, you're coming for them. This is like, you got Nova, and then you got the World Championships. I don't know what you're playing in between, but like Beeline, you're going to ruin the meta. They're going to be crying. You're going to ruin. Art of War is going to collapse. That whole industry is going to crumble.
Art of War ranked this as a D tier, which I thought was fucking. I was like, I took that shit personal. Let me see if I can get this up going. I just asked what's his name, Brian, for a recruit list. It's not going to be as good, but that's the shit that I do. So let's get into the list. I mean, you guys play Chaos. You guys should have a Cypher model. Cypher is at the top. Cypher is literally one of the best models in the entire Chaos Space Marine Codex. I was running him before he was cool, with just the battle tactics.
Hipster.
Yeah, and then now that it's all stratagems, it's even more busted. And when I think Keeble was playing guys at LSO with Cypher, and he would tell him like what's going on, the opponent, whether they be Chaos or Imperial, they're like, dude, I'm adding the Assassin, I'm adding Cypher. Like this literally changed the entire game. So by the way, we're selling Cypher and Calidus on Discord. So
no big deal.
But besides that, Cypher has to be in every single Chaos Space Marine list. Without Cypher, it's like you're missing, I would say, a third of your army because of how good he is in certain situations. Some games he might just shoot randomly and just be in your backfield, but other games he could literally win you the game by killing a 10-man unit of Terminators because they don't have enough CP, or they have to spend 3 CP to interrupt, or whatever it may be. But Cypher is just so good in this list, in every list for Chaos Space Marine. But everything within 12 inches is effect. Some people, even at LSO, was like, wait, I thought it was next time I spend it is effect. And I'm like, no, it's instant. Like, now it's affected. So I would be like, you're at 0 CP. They're like, no, I'm at 1. I'm like, no, you're at 0 because you spent 2 for that. He's like, oh, I thought it was. I was like, no, it's instant 12 inches bubble. So you can use them to
circle of tears. Where all the crying happens.
Yep. It's the circle of hard decisions.
Yeah,
I mean.
Mike and I spent a 5-hour game because of Cypher. Like, we both had him, and we're like, "Fuck, where the hell do we deep strike? Where do we go?" And all like it was crazy. Man. You have to protect him. Like, he has to survive the first 2 turns, like, without being assassinated. But you also need him to be in key moments. Like, if you put him in a Rhino, he's got to advance out of the Rhino. He can still shoot because he has assault, but you want to yeet him towards the unit that you really want to kill, like with armor contempt. My army max AP is AP 1. So I need to get that armor contempt like 100% going, because if they armor contempt, 2-up saves is just going to ruin my army. Anything with 2-up saves, I suck at. So I need that armor contempt, so that way at least they get a 3-up save, which I can kill anything with a 3-up save. So he is there to get rid of armor contempt, get rid of like Eldar shit, like movement, shenanigans, all that stuff. So he's just the key.
Grey Knights. Oh man.
Oh my god, I haven't played Grey Knights yet.
Absolutely blow Grey Knights out. It's so funny. We're like, what was that about Mists of Delos?
But they're gonna cry when I play Grey Knights. It's gonna suck.
Oh man.
Oh, and also Overwatch. Like 2 CP Overwatch now.
Yeah,
like nobody does
that's a huge, especially with the Redeemers. Still, people aren't playing enough Redeemers. We don't have time to talk about that, but that's like my mantra right now. The fact that there's so many good things out there to be overwatching.
Yeah. Dude, I can see a podcast going, because we're already at like 20 minutes and we only got to Cypher.
Okay. We can do this. We can do this. Go team. Dark Apostle.
Dark Apostle is so clutch, and actually I played all of LSO for getting his like main ability.
Yep. Oh my god, like, it was so funny.
You know, he also can make a unit not battle shocked within 12 inches in the beginning of any phase. So let's say you battle shock your unit, and then in the movement phase you can then move up and just make it not battle shocked. I did it against at ASCO. I did it against Matt Laura, which almost won me the game, because when he did his Tyranid like make everything battle shock, I then just advanced him forward, moved up my Dark Apostle, made that unit not battle shock anymore, and then was able to use all the strats on him to murder his unit. So it was so key in that moment, but I forgot all of LSO that he actually had that ability. So it's a really good ability. You should remember it, but the +1 to wound built in. He also brings back D3 models, so he can bring back 3 big guys every command phase if you roll 3. So it doesn't say bring back 1 guy with 1 wound, bring back 3 little guys, 1 big guy like it used to be. Now it's just bring back D3 models. Now I wish you could bring back the little chicks that he has with him with the 4 invuln save, but you can't, because it's an additional unit you're adding on. Or else that unit would be fucking busted. But you can bring back D3 models.
That's exactly what the old Necrons could do. That's been removed. Otherwise, it would be super good.
So that is a part of one of the Dark Commune or ACDC units. So Dark Commune, he also hits really well. Like, he's got a 3-up, 4-up. 4 wounds, but he has, I think, like 5 attacks, AP 1, 2 damage. So he hits like a big guy, but he hits on 2s, which is even good, even better. So like Nurglings, Death Guard, all that stuff, he still hits on 3s or 4s. So he's able to kind of put that extra oomph in after. So after I roll all my accursed attacks, I then have 5 more attacks on top of that with 2 damage. It's just disheartening when I actually tell them I have more attacks. 2 Dark Communes, both of them have the free advance and charge, and then the +1 per game, +1 hit, +1 wound. And they give the unit a 5-up invuln save. So I use my Dark Apostle very defensively. He's like the one that potentially sticks himself out to try and get an objective, or if I need to like take over a side, like a lesser side, I use him for that, because he doesn't have an invuln save. So the unit dies a lot faster. So they have to get their points out of killing stuff before they die. That's their goal. The Dark Communes can just go across the board not caring because of the 5-up invuln save. 5-up invuln save is insane for 21 models on the table. One of them has +1 strength if they're at below starting strength. So all you have to do is fail Dark Pack once, and you kill a guy. And then now they're below starting strength. So you go up to strength 6 on your big guys, strength 5 on your little guys, and then +1 attack once you're at below half strength. So once you kill all the little guys or get down to 10 models, all your big guys are now D6 +3 attacks each. So when you have 6 big guys left, you're at D6, 66 +18 attacks at strength 6. Like it is really, really good. And that unit that comes on the board is rapid ingress every single game. Like no matter what, I'm rapid ingressing every game with that unit.
Derek, I don't know if you remember, but that would have been really good if you had remembered that enhancement in your last game, because it was active 2 turns and you didn't get it. And I was just like, I was so sad for you. You're just like punching into Rodigus, and you're just you forgot your extra attacks.
I texted you because the attacks didn't matter at that point. Like it didn't matter, but
I
clocked either way.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah. What happened before? Do you remember? Because he absolutely, because there was a question about the rolling damage, but even so, like, that many extra attacks may have been enough for like you to free up that Chris Feltus maybe if he hadn't rolled quite sad, but man, there's so many good rules on these models. Like +1 hit, +1 win.
So well.
You can give them full hit rerolls. Yeah. It's like just like these units are nuts.
That's why this detachment is honestly S tier in my eyes. But the other Dark Commune, it's Foresight, so that's the scout move. Having a fucking full 21 man ACDC unit that can scout 6, speed 8, advance, and then charge at +2 is literally getting across the table turn 1. I killed Triumph turn 1 with 4 big guys.
And there's video proof.
Yes,
we actually have it recorded. Joe hasn't uploaded it yet, but it's going to be uploaded soon, and then there will be a video evidence on a turn 2 SmackDown.
It was brutal. So those are the 3 Dark Communes. The enhancements, they're just so good, so you put them on everybody. Then we have Fabius Bile. Fabius Bile, everybody is just like, this list is lore accurate. like Fabius Bile in the list is just 100% lore accurate. Running a unit with cultists. I was running with Trader Guardsmen, but then somebody was like, oh, you can't run Trader Guardsmen. I was like, shit. So I was running them then with just cultists that are now toughness 4, strength 4. It didn't really matter. But
way tougher.
Yeah, he having 10 bodyguards with him is just so much harder to kill Bile alone. Then adding the Rhino was key thanks to Doug. So having one vehicle in your list stops them getting rid of Bring It Down. So it's not a free Bring It Down discard, so they have to kill the Rhino. And then having the movement for 12 with the Rhino to drop off Fabius Bile, and Fabius Bile shooting 18 inches out of the Rhino with a Dark Pack that goes onto the Rhino if it gets hurt. Is just all positives with Bile being in that squad. You can then move up 12, get out 3 with Bile, and just like put 12 extra or 10 extra shots with Bile's 3 shots. Like it's a lot. That combo with the Rhino, Bile, 10 cultists is just so good in every single game. Every game, it's like that does most of my shit, like most points. The Rhino alone does actions that usually you don't do with other people. Like the last game we got 6 points for doing an action in his deployment zone with the fucking Rhino.
Dude, the Rhino absolutely carried that game, and that's what people don't get. Like, you want to win more? Put more Rhinos in your list, man. The Rhinos are incredible. Like these units that you can use to like do a thing and then like do an action, and like now you don't have to have like something that matters to that action. Like I think that Rhino scored you at least 6 points. Fabius Bile was like huge in that game. These kind of like durable, like different, like kind of they attack from like a different angle. Like these kind of attack, like things you're doing are like really working out well. And these are things that anybody can include in their list, like hitting from a slightly different angle than they're used to. And I think you showed that on stream in your finals game with them.
And Keeble painted him up, but he looks fucking amazing. So I had to put him in a list. And when I saw that he did well, I'm like, all right, he's staying in the list. He also painted the cipher, which I forgot, by the way, at home. So I had to make a makeshift cipher, thanks to Will, in the hotel room the night before, and then got called out on the final game in stream. So I had to run to Keeble. I was like, Keeble, give me your cipher. So then he let me borrow his cipher on the last game. But that was
I was getting smashed by Blood Angel, so I was like, just take him. It's and then my opponent looked at him and he's like, that looks like shit. I was like, well,
that's why I got called out on stream. The guy literally texted, I guess, the judge to come over to like see if I was running him, and the judge was like, yeah, that I was like, do you want me to go get the real one? He's like, yeah. So I had to run and go get a real one, and not get disqualified.
That's awesome.
But I try to.
That's an incredible story. I'm just hearing that for the first time. That story right there is better than the rest of the tournament. That's our podcast, folks. I didn't know that. I have opinions on that I'm not going to share right now.
That was live. Like, I think that was during.
I believe it. I'm sorry. As much as I like watching you push plastic models around, I do not watch intermissions. I can't do it. So I missed that, but man, that was secret. That was
you can hear me if you go back. You can hear me talk to Keeble. he's like, did you get called out? I was like, yeah. He's like, here. And I think he said love you, and then I ran away.
That's so funny. That's so funny. All right, so we got through the cool part of the list, all the hip characters. Now the this is the meat. This is what actually does the work now.
I got a piss. Dude, just keep going.
So the cultists, we took out the 20-man cultists because of Call the Horde. So I had to reduce it to 10-mans. The 20-mans are really cool. They stopped a lot of people. But once you have like 2 or 3 models left, they can get Call the Horde, kill those 2 models, and get 5 points easily. And there's no limit to Call the Horde. So if they kill, one Accursed Cultist unit and then 1 20-man Cultist unit, it's 10 points. Like, that's a shit ton of points for a swing.
It's so funny to me that has not been. I would, of all the things for them to errata, they're like, no, you can't take whatever the action thing is. You can't do that action locus or whatever, not locus, the other one, recover assets. You can't do that. That's a day 1 errata. But they're like, oh, by the way, Call the Horde scores infinitely. Don't worry about that. It's not a big deal. Bye. Like, come on, man. That's like not fair.
Yep, it killed a lot of lists.
Oh my god, it was so unfair.
I needed to change it instantly. So that kind of went from, I did have, I think it was like 80 cultists regular. It was 2 20-mans. Now I'm down to 50 cultists. So I reduced those, but then I increased my traded guardsmen. I had 40 before. Now I have 60. So I kind of just swapped out a bunch of them. So it's 50 cultists and then 60 traded guardsmen. So that's 11 battle line units right there, which there was a lot of battle line secondaries this tournament, which was really cool. I didn't really pay attention to a lot of them, which was funny. I was like, oh shit, I could have fell back and did something with that unit, or I could have advanced with that unit, or shoot and do an action with that unit. Like, it's small stuff, but it definitely adds up. Like when I think the last opponent that I played, I was like, I have 13 battle line. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go throw up right now. So the traded guardsmen, I'm still not sure about the guns. Like, the plasma was okay. The flamer was shit. Like, and then the grenade launcher was okay. Like, it wasn't the best. I think the plasma did the best out of all of them. Just the 2-shot rapid fire, strength 8, AP 3, 2 damage. Like, that killed a bunch of Marines. But I haven't really faced another Horde list. That's why I'm still cautious of taking them out for the grenade launcher and the flamer, because that's the only reason they're there, is in case I face another Horde or another Orc list or whatever it may be. But again, they're going to be winning on 5s against an Orc, so I don't know if I'm going to like trade the flamer for a Melta or like whatever it may be, just have more like somewhat
more meaningful shots. I like the grenade launcher and the flamer. I think Sisters being good right now is actually a good reason to have them, because I think you can trade these Accursed Cultists actually like a lot. There are still Sisters lists for playing trading pieces instead of just like the big punch you in the face fire lists that everyone's bringing. There are other ways to play, and I think like into these like, or even Guard, who's like a fine army. I think these extra shots, I think you're right. I think they will matter. I personally like the Melta gun because if that ever goes through, you just ruin someone's day. Not like their game, not their tournament. Their entire day is going to be ruined by that one little guardsman that just became a hero and slanted that Melta shot. So I personally love the Melta just for that reason.
Yeah, the plasma again did really well, especially with the Blood Angels. Like all of them were 2 wounds, so I was just eating plasma into all of them, and killed a bunch of Death Guard Blood Angels, which was great. So yeah, the traded guardsmen did amazing. I think Joe said it on the video. He's like, these traded guardsmen are literally the backbone of the list, and they honestly are. Like, they did a ton of unexpected firepower, just random shots going all over the place, and then just being able to be 2 OPSEC and just tie up people in the demons list, especially like just get onto the point and just tie up shit. They definitely helped out a lot in this list. So having 60 of them was huge.
Yeah, you put on you used them really well in that. It's like another way to show like people can look. Like you took up space, you really minimized how much his Bloodthirster could get in. You really you protected your valuable units in the Accursed Cultists using these models. But like no, they like did real work when they were coming in. Like they put out enough firepower to like chip away at things, and it's really impressive. Because you get the most out of them, because you get the most movement, you're getting the most shots, where they matter. These things will kind of add up, and that's how you get to winning a major is you do all these things right, and you do them often, and then you're Derek, and you just win everything. That's how it works.
I do have to say that when people run this list, I first started just doing Desperate Packs with everybody. Don't do that. Only do it when you need to do it. Like when you need to get on a point, when you need to do an action, when you need to get that extra 2 inches, that's when you're doing the Desperate Pact. Most of the time, you're not really doing it. You're kind of just advancing or just getting them in position. So that's going to be, that's a learning curve, is only do Desperate Packs when you really need to. Like I used to do it 12 times in the movement phase turn 1, but you killed like 30 guardsmen on turn 1.
I think you did that on stream at ACO. It was pretty funny.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, I'm done doing that. So don't do Desperate Pack every time, only when you actually need to do it.
But can I actually point out something you do that you probably have talked about somewhere, but like I watched you do it. It was also really good because Mike and I have been talking about this. Is you had set up several situations where you had 2 throwaway units close together, and you would roll the advance with the Desperate Pact and see how you got. And if they scrubbed it, then you had the second unit like right there to go. And that's one of the reasons I think a lot of people don't appreciate why you want 10. Like when you're playing this style, you can't just get some. You need to like have so much redundancy because you need those people to be there when you need them. But you don't have like raw damage except for outside the accursed bricks, so you've got to make sure you get there. And you like did that several times where you had people who like just barely short in advance, but you had another squad ready to go, Desperate Pact in advance, they're flying like 14 inches, and everything's taken care of.
Yeah, and also for counter charges as well, I think the demons, they had the flamers, so that was bullshit. So I would like charge him with like 1 or 2 cultists that were left in the squad to just stop the overwatch, and then the big unit would go in. So I did that a bunch with the flamers. So I used like the last 2 guys that lived in that unit to then just move up and charge before like my other guys would charge. So again, it all comes down to the movement phase, like expecting overwatch, shit like that. So I didn't move my 1 green squad the 1 turn because I knew I was going to make a dude. So when I made 3 fucking big guys again, I placed them 2 inches further, and then the base is almost like 2 inches, so you got like an extra 4 inches movement just by placing a dude. And then my other squad, which is a 5-man, moved past my Accursed Cultists to get in range to charge the flamers, because if I would have moved those guys up first, he would have overwatched my green guys. Mm-hmm. Which I would have killed a bunch of them. So I was like, all right, I'm going to keep these guys here, move up my green guys. Do you want to Overwatch? And he's like, no. I'm like, all right, I'm done. And I put it like somewhere else on the table. But now those guys are super close. So if he flamers those guys, I don't care. Then I'll move up my green guys, and then I'll get the easy charge. So like shit like that, planning that they're going to Overwatch and like knowing where to move, when to move, stuff like that. also takes practice, but that was what I used them for, was like taking the blunt force before I moved my important units up.
Yeah. Speaking of important units, 3 bricks, accursed cultists. The best unit in the Codex, right? Like, I mean, the thing, they're pretty freaking incredible. They're a little overpriced, but still, like, man, do they do incredible amounts of work.
They were what, 235 before the new edition, or before the new codex?
Yeah.
They were fucking super expensive. I mean, that was when they had full rerolls and 4-up invul and save with Abaddon.
And you got them back, and and they were 2OC,
Exploding phase.
It was too good to be true.
I think the biggest change why these guys stand out so much is the Horde move. So the Howling
Horde
is just so scary for people that just aren't used to it or don't even want to see it. I played Mike with 1 unit of these guys, and I had 4 or 5 Dread Knights, and it might have been 4 Dread Knights. And I didn't shoot him at all. I just tried to get around him as much as possible, because I knew if I shoot him, he was just going to tie up all of my Grey Knight army. So having that in their kit, it's scarier now than it was them coming back D3 models.
Agreed.
I would say even in both command phases, like they're even more scarier now than having both units come back in both command phases.
Absolutely.
You can end up in engagement range. I had a guard guy who awesome dude, and he was like, I want Lord Solar to be in the fight this game. I was like, okay, cool. So I didn't realize it till the end, but he shot my Cursed Cultist knowing that they would blood surge all the way up until I got up in his face. And I think it was like a 12-inch charge. Or no, it was like an 11-inch charge to get Solar.
So he overwatched?
No, he just kept shooting them with chip damage. So he put all his big shots from his tanks like into my Vindicators, and then all the little shots into the Cursed Cultist. And I'm like, I can blood surge every time. And he's like, yep. I was like, okay. So I ended up in engagement range, and I mathed it out, and I looked at it. I was like, okay, it's like a 12-inch charge or like an 11-inch charge for him to get it, and he rolls a 12. And we were just like, it's like very 40k, and got Solar in. But like, it is an ability. Actually, Derek, you want to talk about how it's by the unit, it's not model to model?
Yeah.
All right, so
I have something I want to say about that.
The Howling Horde, I learned this like just from people telling me, because there's a lot better people out there that like play the Tyranid list where they can move shit and World Eater, stuff like that.
What am I, chopped liver? I told you about it. What are you talking about?
Doug, you're literally the person that told me, and also Nolan and Craig and all the people. But like,
I know there are plenty of other people who also comment on it.
But you're the one like learned about it from that Tyranid player, where like you literally only have to end your unit as close as possible to the closest enemy unit. So you can basically keep your one guy that's close to the enemy unit and then move everybody fucking away, which helped me the last game at ACO, where he had his Lord like 4 inches away from my unit, but I was closer to the Havoc unit. So I rolled a 6, of course. Dirtbag dice $1 each on Discord. So I rolled a 6, and then I was able to get in combat with the Havocs, and then I moved my guys 6 inches away from the fucking Lord unit, when now he had a 10-inch charge compared to a 4-inch charge, which almost basically won me the game. But it's per unit, not per model. So the closest model in your unit has to end as close as possible to the closest enemy unit, and then everybody else is fine. They can do whatever the fuck they want. As long as
let me explain that. So just to make it clear, so the way the core rules set out, how you define a distance between a unit is only measured between the 2 closest models in those units. That is expressly how the game determines it. And there's several ways you can see that, because they don't talk about the Horde move, but the thing that's most obvious is if you look at things that aren't shooting attacks, you can draw line of sight from whatever the relevant model or unit is. But when you ask to draw distance between those units, it makes it very clear you just draw the distance between any 2 parts of the attacker and the defender. That's just all you have to do for non-shooting attacks. And so it's the Horde moves work the same way. So you get the 2 closest models. Your model has to move straight line right there. but you're completely free to move the other things. And like Derek's saying, the only restriction is you can't move in an engagement range, which means that you can just like, you're nowhere where you just were. It's a full reactive move. When you have a unit that's this big, they can't be killed. And Derek, was ducking and dodging with it. It was, it's very cool to have that at your disposal.
Yeah, there's a lot you could do, like getting on objectives, setting up for next turn, getting behind a wall, getting behind cover. Like, there's a lot of stuff that you can move your units. Also, it happens after your unit dies. So let's say they plan for like, all right, my unit is closer to this guy over here, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm actually going to kill that model. Now this unit's closer. You just like go that way instead. So you can kind of like mess people's plans up a lot. Now, obviously, I'm telling them all this while they're shooting me, because I don't want to be a dick. So as they're shooting me, like, hey, I could just remove these guys first. They're like, fuck. So then they have to like try and replan and go like that. So it's funny because like when that happened, the guy plays Chaos. I was playing another Chaos player who's really, really good, Tyler. And once he was done moving and he started to roll his first thing, he just went like this. Like he was just so sad at what he just realized about the horde move. He's like, fuck.
It's very hard to play against.
I was like, you just saw what you did, right? He's like, yeah.
Yes.
So,
Hey, sorry, just to clarify, with the Howling Horde, you can end with an engagement range of an enemy.
Yeah, of just one unit, of just the unit that's closest, but you can't get in with anyone else. So there's some very weird scenarios. Like, what if you're engaged with two units? Like, there's some cool things that end up happening. But yes, you have to touch the closest thing. You can only touch the closest thing, but everybody else can do whatever they want, and it's awesome. And it's just another great bonus. So moving on quickly. Chaos Spawn. How were those things? I can't believe you put them in your list. When I saw them on stream, I was so sad.
So I'm sorry to go back one more time. When you do the Howling Horde, you get in combat with a unit that they don't want to get in combat with.
Right,
so,
of course.
Like you get in combat with one unit, but then you leave all your big guys near the unit you really want to kill. Right, so you put them like 1 inch away because they have to be outside of engagement range, so they're like a little bit more than 1 inch away. And then during the fight phase, you just pile into that unit and just kill that unit. So again, it's just so good. Chaos Spawn, 70 points. I really wanted to test them out because of the new rule that they put out for the fact that you can go down to OPSEC 0, which has actually come up in a couple games. So they are speed 8. They're really quick. They're beasts, so they can move through walls, unlike fucking nerdlings. So they can move through walls. They're speed 8. They don't get any of the bonuses, but they hit as hard as the Accursed Cultist. So they're not damned, which also sucks. So nothing really benefits them altogether. It's really just their 2 units, 4 up save, 5 up feel no pain, toughness 5, speed 8, and D6 plus 2 attacks. So like they're just quick backfield melee units, always hiding them behind a wall. Like they only come out when I really need them. And if they have a unit on an objective, I'm literally just gonna run them forward or move up 8 and then charge something to get in combat to keep something on. So like it happened against the Eldar player where he had a full brick of the melee guys, like the really high toughness.
The Wraith Blades.
And again, this is what I'm talking about. I don't know what they're called. So the Wraith Blades.
I know. I had to look through all your lists to know what all the things were, so that when you say them, I know what the code is.
Yeah. So those guys, they're OPSEC 1. So I literally run my my spawn up. I get within 3 inches. Now that entire unit is OPSEC 0. So even if he wanted to do an action or whatever on it, like he couldn't because he doesn't control the objective. So like small shit like that actually came up with the spawn. Them being 70 points, I don't think they should be worth 70 points. Maybe like
no, that's the problem. Like bikes 60, are so good at 70.
65. Exactly. Like they're competing for bikes, and bikes just are quick. Like they do actions. They
55 would be fine. I think. I don't know. One's gonna win the game with a 55 point, OC 0 unit that makes you 0. Like it's very reasonable at a much lower point value.
Yeah, I think them being OPSEC 1 would definitely be worth 70 points.
Look at World Leaders. It's like, according to Art of War, it's the best. I think they said the World Leaders Chaos Spawn was like the best unit in post-Pariah Nexus or something hilarious, which they're being hyperbolic, but they're like super good at with OC1, they're awesome. With OC0 at 70 points,
one, like, I think, of them.
Why am I being taxed?
If I could bring one spawn for 35 points, I would totally do that.
Absolutely. It'd be phenomenal unit. Just to clear out a whole of board space, screen out for 35. Sisters get it. Why can't we? Because GW James doesn't love us like we love Sisters.
Yep. So Spawn was the secret tech coming into this. Before it was the Seekers, now it's the Spawn. So I think the Spawn could definitely add something to a lot of lists. Again, they're competing for 6 Nurglings, they're competing for bikes, and they're competing for another unit of Trader Guardsmen. So they have a lot of competition for that 70-point value. But since you already have 6 Trader Guardsmen in the list, you don't really want to bring bikes because it doesn't benefit, and you don't need Nurglings because you have, like, you only need 1 small unit of Nurglings. So there's no other competition in this list besides Spawn. So I'm like, all right, let's just try to add Spawn and then see how they do. And they actually did very well. They're just kind of backfield bullies. So if they do come in my backfield, I at least have 2 Spawn that can move up and try and do something and protect your home field because they're really quick. So Spawn definitely helped out a lot in the Demons list as well.
I think it was pretty funny. Like they were like Benny Hill music chasing those flamers around your home DZ objective. It's just like you can just hear the and like the flamers keep flying over and your spawn keep charging them, and you like repeat this for like 3 turns. Meanwhile, Scarberry's like rampaging through the middle, and you're and meanwhile in your home deployment zone, the little flamers are just like slipping away again, like rascally rabbits. It was so funny.
None of them died. Nobody focused on them. They didn't die once throughout the entire tournament, so they're just there. You know, they got me engaged on the Sisters game, so they got me engaged turn 1, I think, but also they blocked out a zone that I can bring my Accursed Cultist in turn 2. So they actually gave me a room for me to rapid ingress my Accursed Cultist because he couldn't put his unit there because of my spawn. So that actually helped me out that game by rapid ingressing over there. He's like, I might bring my jump pack chicks over here, but then he couldn't because the spawn were there. So if the spawn weren't there, that would have kind of been tough with the Sisters game.
Yeah, utility having bodies to take up space is a winning strategy in this game. It's very valuable. And then you got the core demons package. You got the demonettes enabling the seekers, who you've like shown off, and like everyone knows who knows you knows that's like your favorite combo. And then like you said, little nurglings, so you can like put them up in a little protected area, so you have some space to scout the seekers, I imagine.
Yeah, that's the only reason they're in the list now, because like 6 of them are really good. Like you guys are running 6. I think they're really good for a lot of armies, but with this list, I only need to do my scout. That's the only reason they're there. So I don't have any infiltrate besides them, and they're the cheapest infiltrate unit I can get. So they help me get the scout move 6 and also the seeker. So I have 2 scout units that I need to block out their deployment zone. So they literally are, if they have infiltrators, and I'm literally choosing to go first to place down my seekers, which I learned from Mike. So like, or I'm putting down my nurglings before their thing, so I can literally say, all right, I know my guys are going to be here, so I need to put my nurglings in front behind some type of cover. And especially with that one deployment where there's like a little triangle like to the left of the deployment, you can just put them right there. Yep, that's all I need. I need them right there. That's all their job is to do. Boom, they made their 40 points back right there. That's all they're there to do. And then now you have an extra movement to get your dudes up, and then your seekers usually are near them, so that way they have that. Because when you do the scout move, you can't end within 9 inches of another enemy unit, so they're the ones that are letting me move up to scout. That's literally the only reason that they're in the list.
But I mean, it makes a lot of sense in this meta game right now, because this is the smallest deployment zone. So we have the least, or no man's land is the smallest it's ever been. Tipping point, you're like 16 inches from each other. The meta is super fast. Blood Angels are power fisting their way through the meta. Like everything is good if it's fast, and you have an army that's fast and durable and hits like a truck. And then like you're being able to own space is really valuable. I mean, it's pretty, when we're in the discords, if anyone's making a list in chaos, I'm just like spam hitting the nurgling button every time. Like, why you got to play more of these things to like give you space to move your guys into good positions, because it's so fast, and you need those speed bumps to really let you play the game.
Yeah, Kivo, how good did the 6 nurglings do for you?
I mean, so in multiple ways, right? Like, so I went into the mirror match against Raiders. I was talking to Doug. He was like, hey, look, he's probably going to be super aggressive with. So he had Abaddon, 10 Chosen, and the Master of Execution with the scout move. So he had no scouts. So I didn't care who put down first or second. I deployed the Nurglings last because I wanted to know where he was putting Abaddon. As soon as he put Abaddon down, I put the 6 Nurglings. Again, we're talking about like, you should know generally how far you can string out stuff. So like a 10-man cultist squad is about 18 inches, like with proper coherency. A 6-man Nurgling squad is like, it's 12.
4.5
I mean,
or -2.
Right, like it's a huge amount of space, and I just put those 6 guys right in front, and he looked at me and he was like, "Fuck, I'm bringing Nurglings in my." He's like, "You just sold me on Nurglings," and like his dudes scouted nowhere, and it doesn't matter if they die. And Doug and I were talking about this before the game, but it's like, so against Blood Angels, I clustered them together. So if he did get in, it was a minimum, limited amount of like, I don't know, 10-man Death Company or 10-man jump intercessors that can get in. But it's like, if I'm going to put it to a flank, then I will deploy them in front of the objective. So if they decide to consolidate, now they're coming closer to me. Versus if I deploy them in the center of the field, I might deploy them, a little bit closer to me, but on the other side of the puck, to where, again, like when they consolidate, they're moving closer to me every single time, or they just stay where they are. So these like little things in mind, like are setting you up for the next turn. Or like we were using them back when when I was running Seekers, boom, I put them even if my opponent has infiltrate, so let's say they win the roll off, they infiltrate first. Okay, cool, well, he's either going left, right, or center. Okay, sweet, so I guess I'm just going to the other side. I'm going to clear my zone. Seekers are going to be behind them, and I'm just getting ready to, like, that is now the direction that I'm going to go. So it can dictate like what your attack vector is going to be into the midfield, and then ultimately into their home field.
We just described all of that for a fucking Nurgle unit. Like, that's how in depth this game is. But that's how crazy you could think about this game with just one fucking Nurgle unit. Like, to get up to like that level, you're thinking all of this by making your list. Like everything that you just said was him making his list by why he's going to add Nurglings and not add Nurglings. So it's like, it's just crazy how in depth like the list creation is thought of. Like everything I just went over my list, that's their sole purpose, is just to do this.
And this is just what you got to do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is what you got to do with every unit, and if you do it, that's how you come up with a really nice cohesive list. And I think one of the cool things, or good or bad, you can like it or dislike it, is about Pariah. It's really rewarding infiltrating and scouting, and it's very hard. There are very few units in the whole game who can really prevent you from getting some value out of your own infiltrators. Like, you maybe not get the perfect spot, but almost every map has somewhere else for them. So like this first unit of infiltrators in almost every list is just so valuable. And then this, it's all about a chain reaction, chaining that into the Seekers movement, into the Accursed Cultist movement. I think Derek's done every single game. You got to watch him do it. You can't stop it because there's enough space on the board. So it's just, this is a really tight list, and we got to talk about what you did now. So let's talk about that. How round one, where were we?
So round one. All right, so let me pull up the pictures for everybody. Cool, you guys got the pictures?
Yep, T-Sons.
All right, well, first, the hall was awesome. It was like really widespread.
Dude, the room.
Like LVO at all.
Oh my god, LVO is so claustrophobic.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's bigger in Texas. I've heard that.
Mm-hmm. That was a big difference. LSO, and then I guess Nova is kind of the same.
Yeah, Nova's pretty packed. Yeah,
Nova's a little tight quarters.
But at least we're all.
I like the new venue. The new venue is really nice. I really liked it.
Represent these people, Rexar Lasers. They're freaking awesome.
Oh yeah, super awesome.
Sponsorship, super husband wife. own terrain. They represent a ton of teams in Texas, which is really cool to see.
Yeah.
This guy, Grey Knight, another dirtbag. So he's running Grey Knights. Got me to sign his book, which was cool. And then he has his Drago, which is a really cool Bellicor sword on top of him. So I took a picture of that.
I couldn't figure out what that was. Bellicor's arm is exploding off of him.
Drago.
Pretty
Badass.
sweet.
And then the other one was a whole Knights thing. He actually had smoke coming out of the bottom. I recorded it.
Wow.
But he's got music and smoke coming out of the bottom of his terrain piece. Alright, so T-Suns. Standard T-Suns list. I've only faced the Beast maybe once. And then Magnus. So Magnus is in every T-Sun list. He's got the Rhino, shit ton of Flamers. He had a 10-man brick of Terminators, which I've only seen once. And a bunch of characters. So I was pretty confident going into T-Suns. I played them like 2 or 3 times before this at RTTs, so I kind of knew what to look out for, what to do. I played a really, really good guy, Corey, who ran his T-Suns, and I like barely beat that one. So I was like, all right, if I can, put pressure on, get around the Flamers, not worry about Overwatch, stuff like that, I'll be good. Now with this setup, every time I go into a game, I'm like, do you know Grey Knights? Do you know Chaos Space Marines? Do you know whatever? That's my first question. Then have you played Chaos Cult? And when they say no, I'm like, all right, well, now I have to explain to them like all my rules, all the stratagems, all that stuff. But it puts me at such a big advantage, especially when they never played them before or don't know what they do, because the speed alone is what catches people off guard. So when I tell people like, oh, I scout move 6, I get +2 my move, advance, and charges. In their head, that sounds really cool, but when you actually physically see it on the tabletop, then you're like, oh shit, I did not prepare for this. So that was just
on stream. You got to his home objective on turn 2, and it wasn't like close. It wasn't like you had like a 12-inch charge. You were like 6-inch charge, made it on home objective. It was like, it was brutal.
So that's the definition of this game. You can see the first deployment I set up. It was the whole day 1 is the stepping stone. So basically you have like the 20 inches up and then the 12 inches on the other side. So for me, I basically put my guys as far forward as I possibly could. And then the Seekers were as far forward as possibly could. Now for me, I got to go first on this one. So if you could see my yellow squad, they're the ones that can basically scout move up 6 inches. And then everybody else can the Seekers can scout move up and try and block out. So I took a couple of pictures with this one, which is cool. So you can see the yellow guys, that's his left objective. So that was the one I was like aiming towards, and you can see there's no more beast and there's no more unit right next to them. So that was me charging him turn 1. I think I rolled a 5 for the advance, so that got me 12 inches, 13 inches up the table. Turn 1 for the advance, and then I get +2 to charge, so I was only like maybe 8 or 9 inches away from him, but then I get the +2 to charge as well. So I then can charge turn 1, and when I did charge, I killed his beast and his unit turn 1, which basically he was like, all right, good game. I was like, all right, well, let's keep going, see what we can do. There's Terminators right there, just waiting to come at me. So this one with me flipping up my finger, I forget why I did that. It was game 1.
It's Magnus coming over.
Yeah.
Just real quick for our viewers at home.
I remember why. No, I don't remember why. Never mind.
Well, real quick, just for our viewers and people, one of the reasons why this is so devastating to T-Suns is the Mule of Vortex Beast doesn't just spread their auras. It's one of the only things they have in their army that can just stand on an objective. Like, they are paper. So it's like you have a Vortex Beast, you have Magnus, you might have a Rhino, and you have Cultists, but you can't put your Rubers out. They just die, and then you're sad. So taking this out turn 1 is just ripping the heart out of this army. Yep. This is just, there's nothing left. That's like, Magnus can't carry this whole army on his back.
So when I did that, I basically had the bottom zone. My Seekers were actually blocking out most of his guys in front of the ruin because I just advanced them up. And I just spread him out so he couldn't move out of that building at the top. So I had the top zone pretty much blocked off. I had the bottom zone pretty much ready to go. And then the center, I had all my units kind of running towards the center. Because the barricades, I hate the barricades. Like, they kind of screw my army up as much as possible.
Dude, that was, sorry, side note, that was like huge because they're not breachable. So even jump pack infantry had to take the 6 inches of 2 up, 2 over, 2 down to get through. That was huge for me in the Blood Angels.
So being defensive, it's definitely good, but also being offensive, it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
So for me, you can see I put a Rhino in the center. And I just put all my guys on the objective, spread them out. I put Cypher right next to my Rhino, so you couldn't really see him. But he's there in the middle, so he's got that 12-inch bubble of Vect. The Terminators had the uppy-downy, so I wanted to kind of keep them on the board as much as possible. So you can see I just blocked out most of the table. He can only pick them up and bring them back down in his deployment zone, which I was like, all right, fine, you can keep him in your deployment zone. I brought in my Demon Heads in the backfield, so that gave me even more of the field to block out. And then my green squad at the top, they advanced and charged and took out the guys in the center or in the top building as well. So basically, at this point, he had Magnus, 10 Terminators, which I basically ignored most of the game. I just took out all of his melee units with my Curse Cultist. And then I rapid ingress my red guys down at the bottom because that's what I do every game. They came down behind that cover right there, which he couldn't see me with Magnus, and he couldn't see me with the Terminators. This is the first gotcha that happened during the game. So when I brought in my rapid ingress here, you probably already know what he can do is he can shoot out of line of sight with the unit. So,
but he has to have somebody else to see him.
Yeah, so this one guy on the edge can see him. Can see my
brutal.
unit. So everybody else can then shoot out of line of sight into my Curse Cultist unit. So I was like, oh, thanks for that. I appreciate that. Ever since then, I didn't tell
don't do
anything.
that. That's brutal. That's not nice. I would I try. I mean, I might maybe go a little bit too far and be like, dude, if you move, I'm going to Overwatch the shit out of that. But I might do that too much. But like, that's dirty. I'm not a big fan of that. But okay, so it obviously didn't affect you too much.
Yeah, because he hits on 4s now because the big difference. So you always hit on 4s, and I think he wounds on 4s because they're bolters anyway, but he didn't kill a bunch. He killed like 3 or 4, and I was like, all right, well, at least now I get the +1 strength or whatever. But that was kind of like, I was like, all right, first game, and I already have a pretty big gotcha. So I just didn't say anything the rest of the game. Like everything that I was going to do,
personally.
I just kept it in my head. I was like, hey, if you ask the right questions, I'll tell you. But like, this is the type of game you want. This is the type of game we're gonna get. But then all in all, I saw us winning, so I was like, honestly, I don't care. I'm just gonna kind of coach him, tell him what to do differently anyway. And then at the end, all he had left after I go past some of the things, I charge Magnus with the red squad. Put a bunch of shots into him, actually kill Magnus after 2 turns, because the -1 damage definitely helps Magnus a lot.
Yeah, that's really big with all your 2 damage swings, unfortunately.
Huge.
Oh, wait, is it? It's non-psychic.
Yeah, so by, I think, turn 3, we kill Magnus. We have the top zone, we have our zone, and then we have the center zone. The spawn, you could see right next to the Rhino, they were stopping them from getting OPSEC on the center with the Rhino, because now the Rhino goes down to OPSEC 1, so my Rhino's OPSEC 2 beats them. And then the Termies, if they got on the point, they would still be OPSEC 0, so I'd still basically hold that point with the spawn. And then after that, I'm basically taking pictures. He brought up and brought down the Terminators after I actually charged them, I think on turn 4, and we killed just a ton of them. So after the charge, the shots, all that stuff, he winds up with 1 Terminator and 1 character, the character that could still go up and down. So he goes up, comes back down in my deployment zone, and makes like a 9-inch charge. So he charged me on my objective, takes over my objective, which is, again, fine. I think I'm up on primary anyway at this point. But then he gets, I get the one where you have to pick people to kill.
Mark for death.
Yeah, so he picks them, and I'm like, I literally can't get to them at all. So I kind of just ignore that and couldn't do that. And then at the end of the game, you could see the score. We had 15 every single turn for primary. So when he stole my backfield objective, I'm like, whatever.
Cool.
I'm still, I have your objective basically.
Yeah.
So we switched objectives, and then we get 50 for primary. We had 8 turn 1, 9, 8, 8, and then 9. So our secondary was really, really good. And this was banners. So I actually got all 5 banners in this game for that. So we finished up with 100. And then for his, you can see his primary, he had 5, 0, 0, and then 5 because he had my home field objective on turn 5. And then for his secondaries, he had 0, 0, 5, 3, 2. So it was a really tough game for him going into Chaos Cult. First time ever, seeing how fast they were and how hard they hit. Like killing Magnus with 2 rounds of a Curse Cultist is kind of like brutal.
Yeah,
so
I think what you kind of saw, it seemed like why we don't see more 10-man bricks of Scarabocult Terminators. They just don't hit that hard. Even when they hit, they're just like, it's just kind of underwhelming, and they're not that tanky. They're tankier, but they're not that tanky, and they're not that great. And the rest of your army is just damage. Has no survivability outside of your beasts and Magnus. And I think you really exploited that well. You just took out the one thing that might actually slow you down turn 1, and then everything else was just kind of like systemic cleanup.
Yeah, so going against lists like this, you just have to kill the chaff. Like, we just have to kill all the Marines. Once we kill all the Marines, if they have Magnus left, if they have Terminators and Magnus, they're not going to win the game. It's going to be really tough. So most of the games that I played against, I just went after their secondary units, because Pariah Nexus, you need a lot of secondary units. So if I could just focus them down and leave the big heavy shit that I'm going to waste my time trying to kill, that's going to be my game plan going into every single game. So. Yeah,
that's what people should be focused on, especially because secret missions. If you guys don't know, Goodhammer did some analysis and they published it. They said that, in their data set at least, Unbroken Wall and Shatter Cohesion had a 65% win rate. So, what that's saying is that you have a real shot of coming back with primary, but there's no catch up on secondary. So if you're playing against someone smart like Derek, who's knocking out your secondary scores, there's no secret mission for secondary. You don't get another makeup. So what he's describing is a really easy way for you to bring it to your game and just, get a few more points, make that differential better. Think about getting rid of the things your opponents can use to score, and you'll end up winning the game even with less stuff, because it's secondary is the name of the game in the Pariah.
So all in all, good opponent, good game one. In GTs like this, you're gonna play people that are different levels the first probably 1, 2, 3 games. I know, Mike, you had a younger kid day one where you're just coaching them and getting through 5 turns, and reminding of your son, trying to get through 5 games or 5 turns. So this is kind of how I felt with there, where it just sounds so big-headed, but I'm not going to go into the game and be like, hey, I was ranked number 2 in the world last year. That was just demoralize people. So it's you're going to play the best game you possibly can when you're going up to the table.
Kind of a big deal.
So you kind of see their play style. You see how kind of good they are at the game, stuff like that. You realize that after the first turn or 2, of them playing. And you can kind of gauge how the score is going to go, stuff like that, if you're going to help them or not, all that stuff. So game 2 was the game I thought I was going to lose. I think I posted it in Patreon. I was like, I might actually lose this game on game 2.
Imperial Knights game, right?
Yep. And the only reason I'm going to lose this game is because, what was the mission, Mike?
Oh, Purge the Foe.
Purge the Foe. So Purge the Foe against an army that has 2, 4, 6, 7 models. Yeah, that's kind of hard to fucking beat when I have 20 something units in my army. So going into it, I knew I had a chance against a normal army, and of course I get paired up into the one guy that has a Forge Fiend Knight worth 1,000 points, who just sits in his backfield and shoots for days.
All right. Let me real quick just say the list so people know, because that's a very good description. This is Canis Rex as the Warlord, obviously. 5 Helverins, which is really interesting. 5 Helverins, they're cheap, but they're, I think they're a lot worse than the Warglaves. One, Acastus Knight Asterius. This is the guy that he's talking about, and it's just a preposterous Forge World Knight. And then a Calidus Assassin. So that was the list he's going into. It's just a bonkers list. And he was like, he messaged us and was like, I don't know if I'm going to win this, so he put it in Patreon or something. And I looked at it, I was like, holy God, what is happening?
So it was definitely the tightest game I had. This guy scored 80 points on me, which actually I think might have been the highest score. I'm not sure. I don't see the points, but he had 80, I had 90. So that was the end matchup. Now with this game, I knew I had to save some guys to like get points, because you only get primary if you kill stuff or hold objectives. So I knew I had the objective game down pretty much like most of the time. If I can have more objectives than he has, I can get at least 8 points every turn. And if I can kill just one guy, one knight, I can at least get 4. So that was my game plan going into it. I was like, all right, I'm going to kill one knight, get my 4 points, and then hold more objectives. That was the goal. And then it got to a point where he was killing so much of my stuff, I didn't have enough stuff to kill his stuff back. So all he had left was really like 2 baby knights and a big knight, which I'm not going to kill the big knight. So I had to try and kill these 2 baby knights with regular cultists, grenades, plasmas, like whatever I can muster to try and get these knights down.
Someone's just punching it with their little fists, with their little chaos fists.
I'm doing
someone's trying to trip through their body so they can trip it.
Dude, I'm doing dark packs with 3 fucking cultists just to try and get a 6. Like it came down to that in this game.
Oh my God.
Turn 1, I got a charge off on Canis Rex. I did the math and I was like, all right, maybe I can take him down in 1 turn.
If you get the win rolls.
Yeah, I forget what happened. I don't think I did as much as I could with Canis Rex, and then not asking the right questions. But he has a sweep, I think, with 3 damage. I was like, what? He's like, yeah, and then he crits on 5s, so that was cool. So he killed a shit ton, and then another gotcha. So second game, second gotcha. The second picture, I have like maybe 6 guys left in front of Canis Rex, and then I charge with Fabius Bile. So Fabius Bile is in the center. Fabius Bile moves up and charges. I know that the guy's going to pop out. He has like maybe 6 wounds left. So I know the guy's going to pop out, and then I have to try and kill the guy to finally get Bring It Down. Well, I had Bring It Down this turn, which was cool. So I have to try and kill Canis Rex off the table. My red guys at the bottom, they're pretty much half dead. So they did a lot because they have +1 strength, +1 attack, so they killed a bunch of dudes. But Fabius Bile in the center, he moved up, blocked the Canis Knights as much as possible, and then the first gotcha was like, all right, I went to go attack Canis, and then I'm like, you have 2 CP, you can interrupt. Doesn't say anything. And then I go to kill him, and he's like, all right, fight on death. I was like, fuck.
Excuse me? That's what it is. If you don't know that they have a guaranteed fight on death.
Yep. So he had used fight on death and then kills like all but my character in the yellow squad. And then again, he did that. I didn't tell them about like the pile and consolidate shit, to kill the Canis Rex when he pops out. So when Canis Rex popped out, Fabius Bile piled into him and just fucking took him off the table and got my Bring It Down for me. So if I didn't charge Fabius Bile into Canis Rex, I wouldn't have been able to kill a Canis Rex that turn.
Yeah. So what you did, so just again to make sure everyone knows, he was able to get both charged in so that after Canis dies, he still gets to activate, because even though he's not in engagement range, because he charged. And an activation is 3 parts. An activation is your pile-in, your fight, and your consolidation. So because he charged, he activates, and he got to pile into Sir Hector, and he got to slap that little bitch boy down, because it's the stupidest thing that you have to chase him down to get your money. Like, why is that? He's like the only model in the game like that. That's so stupid.
Yeah, but conceptually, that's the same thing if you're trying to pop a Rhino or pop a Land Raider and you still charge in the 2 units. Like, so, like, let's say in the same concept. So that second unit is there ready to pile in and do their fights on whatever comes out of that vehicle that you weren't able to kill in shooting.
Yep. So Sir Hector's dead. God bless.
Yeah, you can see the next picture. Fabius Bile actually made that charge, so he kind of surrounded Canis Rex as much as possible, so limited where he was going to put the dude. And then it looks like I killed him with the green squad that charged in. So the yellow squad died for fight on death, and then next turn I charged in with the green squad and Fabius Bile, and that's what took him out.
Nice.
And then the red squad chilling on the home field. I had Demonets in his backfield to do deploy teleport homer. I stickied most of the objectives, like the center's sticky. And this is a pro move by him. So you can see the Baby Knight on his home field objective. I left enough room for him to walk through, which was dumb on my part. So he walked through his Baby Knight onto my center objective to unsticky it and not get me an 8 for primary that turn. So that was huge misplay on my part, is I needed to use these little guys to block his movement to get onto the center objective, because if I would have had that center objective, that would have got me another 4 points for primary. After turn 3, I realized that I'm like, all right, maybe I'll try a secret mission. So first time I ever did a secret mission, didn't really know anything about it before going to LSO. I'm like looking at the secret missions. I'm like, all right, I got a lot of battle line. His battle line are almost dead. So he's got, by turn 4, he's got his, I'm going to fast forward this right here. So this is where he moves up his Baby Knight in the center. And then he's got the top knight on the top thing. So he's got 2 Baby Knights left, and he's got the big ass knight. So if I can kill these Baby Knights, I have battle line as deployment zone, I'll get 20 points. Now, if you look at the field right now, all of my curse are dead. So I have no curse cultists left. I have Cypher.
The spawn.
Yeah. So I have spawn. I have spawn. I have seekers left now because, again, this mission, if you kill models, you get points. So I'm keeping most of my shit behind cover so that way he doesn't get easy kills. So all I have left is like 5 dudes up top with seekers and spawn trying to like bite the legs off this top guy. I have two dudes on the bottom objective, 1 10-man in the center, and I have demonettes, and then Bile's in combat with this big ass knight, like by himself. He's holding down the fort over there.
So big.
I have a couple guys in combat with the assassin. I thought that was going to be an easy kill, so I took her down to 2 wounds, and then wasn't able to finish her off.
Fucking assassin.
So I have to kill these 2 Baby Knights to get my primary. And I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I could do it now because I have literally nobody left. So after this turn, I get everybody as close as possible. I move the Demonettes up. I fall back Bile. I throw grenades. I kill the top knight, so I got one of them down. Now the spawn are moving towards the bottom knight to try and help that out. And then finally I kill the middle knight to get all of the battle lines. So now I just have my 1 cultist in the bottom zone just sitting there. Hopefully he doesn't kill me with his indirect fire, which I don't think he will. Bile dies from the assassin, gets back up, shoots the assassin, and then charges her, or shoots the assassin, throws a grenade, and kills the assassin to get me another 4 points. So that was clutch by Bile. So this is the end board state. He's got the big knight left, and I just have all this random chaff. And at the end of the game, you could see I was panicking because I added up the points like 5 or 6 times throughout the game. And I was like, all right, if you get this, if I get that. If you get this, I get that. You get this, I get that. I'm just trying to add up the points. You can see the top. I have like 8, 12, 12, 12. Like I'm adding up his score halfway through the game. I'm like trying to add up my score as well. I'm like, shit, am I going to lose this game? So the secondary score, I had 4, 12, 9, 10, 10. So the last turn I got 10, which was really what won me the game. And then for my primary, I had the secret mission, but if you look at the points, I actually would have had 44 if I didn't do the secret mission. So I had to get rid of 4 points because of the secret mission. And then for him, he had 44 for primary, primary, and then for secondary, he had 0, 8, 3, 7, 8. So I think turn 1 he got bring it down and call the horde. So I was like, sorry.
Like you just showed it off, right? This is you won. You unfortunately gave him a 4-point handicap, but even if you didn't, the real difference was you won on secondaries. Like this is Pariah Nexus Warhammer. It's a lot about your secondary game now. Primaries you can catch up, and you played like it was really good demonstration of how to make that secret mission work for you, even if you didn't need it.
Yeah, and again, the real reason, like, if you look at my primary, I had 8 because I think I killed, like, I went second, so I was able to kill more than he did. Like, if he kills 1 unit or 0 units, all I have to do is kill 1 knight, and then I beat him. So I had 8 and 8, so I had a 16 for primary turn 2. Turn 3, I had 8 and 0. Again, the top one was the mission, like the objectives. Turn 4 is when he stole the center objective, so I only had 4 for the primary mission, so that kind of screwed me a little bit right there. And then I killed 1 baby knight, and then turn 5 I killed 1 baby knight. So turn 3 I didn't kill any knights. I wasn't able to kill 1 thing. So again, this mission was the hardest mission I had because against knights, really. Against anybody else I could have killed whatever, but against knights it was just the best matchup he could have had against my army. So
And Purge is scary to play against knights and Purge. I hate Purge. I think Purge should be out of the map pool, but it is. Thank God you could go second. Going first on Purge is even worse.
It was brutal. So yeah, that was the last game.
Round 3. Well, this is where things start getting juicy.
Yeah, this was a really good player. He's actually a Patreon, so he's played another dirtbag. He's on the Hobby Goblins, which are all awesome. Like I think I played 2 or 3 Hobby Goblins this tournament. Dean, shout out to Dean. So when you see the Hobby Goblins, you know you're gonna have a good game. This guy, Chuck. Funny story, Mike. Got to play Chuck the game before this one.
Yeah, I played him.
Right. I remember noticing that. Yeah.
Super awesome guy. It was an insanely intense game. We're having like such a fucking blast. And I sent Doug the score because it was like neck and neck, and I went first. So I have to screen Blood Angels, and like every time I throw up a screen, he's just fucking nuking it off the board. I'm like, fuck, man. And it's like round 3, it's like 43, and Doug was like, dude, do a secret mission. I'm like, all right, first time, fuck it, we're gonna do it. And I was like, hey, how many battle line do you have? He's like, oh, I just have this 1 unit here. Why? I was like, I'm doing a secret thing. He's like, I don't even know what it is. I was like, me neither. But like I did the secret mission, and it was an 80-93 loss to Blood Angels. But I mean, like, talk about like a slugfest, and especially going first. Like, I mean, you just have to screen the like turn 1 or deployment. I'm just like, so how far is everything? It's like everything is preparing for 24 inches. I'm just like, fucking hell, man. And that was the game where, Doug, you and I talked about this in deployment prep, like before the GT. And I'm like, all right, I'm just going to hit the play button. So like the Nurglings go up top, and I spaced them out, like not like a line, but more like an echelon, just to like hold up like space. And then I had the Accursed Cultist ready to go for counter charge, and he's just looking at it. He's like, fuck. So if I go in there -1 to hit, you're just going to nuke literally whatever comes into here. I'm like, yep. And I had 2 Vindicators backing it up, like just like shooting down the like north to south, from north objective to midfield objective. But anyway, awesome dude, such a blast to play. And then Derek's like, hey, I think I'm playing the guy that you just played. Is he cool? I was like, bro, you're gonna have a fucking blast. And just looking at this board state, which is interesting because he just assumed because you had no firepower, because he did not deploy like this against me, because I had the 2 Vindicators on the This is very aggressive.
Well, real quick, I want to say just one thing. I had told you that before the matchup, actually, that you needed to try to just play the secret mission game against them, because it's hard to play. And then this guy's list is actually like a really good list for people to be aware of, because this is very close to like the standard Sons of Sanguinius list right now. He took a captain with jump pack who's going to hop into Assault Intercessors jump packs. He got a chaplain with jump pack who will lead 10 Death Company. Lombardi's who's going to lead 10 Death Company. And then he has 2 Sanguinary Priests that lead Vanguard vets. And those are surprisingly hard to kill, with 3 up armor, 4 up invuln, 5 up feel no pain. They get extra AP from him, which is kind of their weakness. They land those like kind of mediocre Vanguard vet weapons, but you kind of like crank them up. So like this is a really stock standard list. It's very good at what it does. So Derek, take us through how you dealt with it, because this is like a great list to be able to know how to beat.
So Chuck and I just bullshit the entire time. Like, we were making jokes literally the entire time. So first thing I asked Mike was like, all right, is he not a dick, basically? And Mike was like, nah, he's awesome. So I already knew going into the game it was gonna be a fun game. And I was like, dude, watch out! I have a 1 CP strat that I can rapid ingress, and then I explained to him rapid ingress like a just messing with him. He's like, oh, no way, that's crazy! Like, I should definitely do that. And like, we were just fucking around with all the standard strats. I was like, I have a 2 CP strat I can interrupt after you fight with a charge unit, like stupid shit like that. That was the game. But yeah, so you can see his deployment. He was going into this game. I had a huge advantage, like huge advantage. This was the list that I lost to at ACO, and of course I lost, you know, some hours of sleep. I had to look up Blood Angels. I had to fucking read what the hell they do. I cried a little bit. You know, whatever. So Jasper, who was at ACO, who beat me, I messed up a ton. So that list for that game was just flubbed from the beginning. That was just a lot of mental mistakes, game 7, whatever it may be. And Jasper was one of the best players there.
Yeah, he's fantastic. It was still a really good game.
Then going into this game, I was just super like confident, but also going into it knowing what to do and what not to do. So same exact setup. He had almost the same exact units. He didn't have the Sanguinor, which was mind-boggling to me, and then Jasper had more tanks, so we had 2 tanks and a bunch more like MSU units to like do scoring and stuff. This guy was just full force, go forward, kill shit.
All infantry. Yep.
Yeah, I think you should play the Sanguinor. If you're gonna play, it's like you just gotta play him. That guy is such a mess to deal with.
He's too good.
He's the Blood Angel Cypher. You cannot play him.
Yep. And also just having a tank in your list to stop, bring it down, stuff like that. So this unit right here next to the little triangle or the little L is the one that has the -1 damage, which again, I faced that. I knew to stay away from them or focus everything down with the shooting with them before I did anything. The top one was the one that didn't have the -1 damage, so they're the ones that I knew I can kill one round, just kill the whole unit, even with the 6-up Feel No Pain. The other 2, there was a whole unit behind that cover in the top of the L, so there was another 10-man unit behind there, which is right against the wall, and then the other 10-man was in the open, like Mike said. No shooting, so he didn't have to really fear that at all. My deployment, you could see I went first, and I was more defensive rather than offensive, because he has fly everywhere. I'm telling him, like, me going first, I throw my Seekers up and say, F you, try and get through him. I can't do that because he would just fly over and kill my whole squad. So look at this castle right here. I have both a Cursed Cultist.
This is textbook. This is what you got to do. Everyone needs to copy this picture down and learn how to do it. It's like, this is like, Derek is putting on a clinic here. This is like exactly how you deal with Blood Angels.
So you can see the Seekers are taking the blunt force. I have them behind the Rhino, so the Rhino's not going to take a hit. I have the spawn right behind the Rhino in case he does get, you know, whatever. Then if he consolidates them, the Rhino's within 3 inches of spawn to get his OPSEC 0 again, so he can't control the objective. I have my Nurglings behind the Seekers, so that way they get the -1 to hit. And then I have both of my Cursed Cultists, where if he charges one of Cursed Cultists, I can countercharge with the other one to try and deal with that as well. So like everything is just, this is my turn 1. Go. You know, so I have my Rhino on the objective, so he has to do something with the Rhino. I have my green squad on the objective, so he has to do something with the green squad. Then everybody else is kind of there. So I had a really good turn 1. Then his turn 1, he kind of slowly, he just advances up and says, all right, I'm going to commit, because if I hold back, you're going to win. So he commits his 400 point Death Company unit with the -1 damage into killing my Seekers. Kills my Seekers, tags my Rhino, tags the Nurglings, and now they're there. So now it's time to play. So I back up my Nurglings, I get my guys out of the Rhino, Fabius Bile, and I move the guys over onto the objective, and I back up my Rhino. So now these guys are clear shots, put as much into them with shots and grenades to whittle them down before I charge them. Cypher, key in this matchup because of the Fight on Death, which I knew about, so it's 3 CP Fight on Death. Interrupt, it's 3 CP. All their other strats are going to be 2 CP, so Cypher is going to be huge in this matchup, and I knew that. So I put him, you could see kind of like he's the fake Cypher, so he's like next to the spawn, in between everybody, not being charged by anybody, behind the Rhino. So that's where he's at.
Not painted.
This is before,
look at that.
This is before Cypher Gate. Okay, Cypher Gate comes later.
Yeah. So what I did here was I lined up, I see the unit moved out a little bit at the top. So the one that doesn't have the -1 damage, I'm like, all right, they're dead. So I'm going to advance and charge with my yellow squad. So they advance up. They get like a 13 or something. So I move them like right near there. I move up all my traded guardsmen. I bring on all my traded guardsmen. So this is turn 2. Everybody comes on. And I line up as many shots as I possibly can into that Death Company unit. All with the plasmas, all with the grenades, all with the random fire. He's got 3-up saves. So I'm like, hey, here's 30 fucking 3-up saves. Let's see how many saves you can make with the 6-up Feel No Pain. So we take him down to 5 guys, four guys and the character before I charge him. So we kill all of that with the shooting grenades, and he's left with 4 guys and a character, which then I charge him with Bile, a green squad, the spawn, and just surround him. So he's got Nurglings near him, he's got Cypher near him, he's got all these, like, it was just bad. And then at the top, I charge him obviously with the yellow squad. He countercharges because I can't get out of that. So he countercharges into me, and then I split attacks. So I put, like, I think 4 big guys into the Death Company, and then 1 big guy into the other company with a whole bunch of little guys. So I actually kill all of the Death Company. I first kill the guys up front. There was 5-man jump pack infantry. I kill them with shooting. So they actually died to these 2 traded guardsmen right next to him, and like,
That's embarrassing, man.
Yeah, random pot shots. He rolled really bad. We blamed this game 2 dice.
Yeah, but like Sanguinius is not going to be. Those guys aren't allowed back at the monastery. That's pretty bad.
He rolled really bad this game. So I was going to tell him I'll say that, and I'll say that on camera. He did roll really, really bad. And then we killed the whole Death Company. So we killed 2 Death Company squads, 2 characters, and I think we killed 3 or 4 of this 10-man brick that he countercharged into. So on turn top of 2. We killed both Death Companies, 2 5-man jump pack infantry, and like 2 characters. So going into turn bottom 2, it was kind of like an uphill battle. He's got his other 10-man unit charging down south, and when he does that, what do you think I'm gonna do?
I mean,
you're gonna rapid ingress.
You got your rapid ingress.
I'm gonna rapid ingress my other unit in the bottom and kill that unit that's trying to kill my bottom objective. So on turn bottom 2, I bring in my red squad at the bottom to then just kind of like take out and clear that 10-man unit that was on the objective. So by turn 3, I had the center, I had the top, I had the bottom, and then all he had left was like a scout squad, another scout squad, and maybe like 2 or 3 jump pack dudes. So that was by the end of turn 3, and then we kind of called it and talked through the points. But when you look at the points, turn 1 I had 9, turn 2 I had 8, and then on his turn he had 2, and then basically 0. So he would have had maybe a total of like 15 at the end of the game. So we kind of like called it after turn top of 3. You
know what's crazy? Like, looking at this, and again, everything is hindsight 2020, but it's like such a different game, because my game against him, it was like this, and he was a veteran too. So we were talking about this, like, it felt like movement to contact. Like you're en route, like moving to an objective rally point before you like hit an objective like overseas. And it was like this like slow crescendo of like everyone's kind of staging, and then boom, like turn 3, 3, 4, and 5 are like super kinetic, but turns 1 and 2 were like everyone's staging, everyone's whatever. Looking at this game, it's like, again, like you were catching people off guard with, again, like looking at this, I'm like, holy shit, like he just deployed on the fucking line, not knowing that like you're like, you can reach out and touch them. And like, I mean, he allowed himself to get like one, like, again, he's got super tough, super durable units, but they're isolated and they're just getting like whittled down like quarter by quarter. Again, I've only played.
I was super confident going into it because I saw what his list could do prior to playing this. So I know that an Accursed Cultist unit can literally take a full blunt force charge from a Death Company and survive.
Right.
So all my big guys will live to fight back no matter what. That's on average dice rolls.
I think also, like, if we're looking at his play, like certainly throwing the Lamarty squad with the -1 damage onto the objective to kill Seekers is probably not a good use of resources. Like Seekers are like a good, like he should have just thrown his assault jump back intercessors, just knocked that out and started the trading game and just done that. Like, but the problem with that is like he's like, oh, that seems like the reasonable plan. Like everyone would say that, right? Well, the problem is Derek has two Icarus Cultist squads that are in advanced and charge range, and this is the problem with people playing against this list: is you either go in at the opportunity you get, which Derek has presented this really nice wall, or you just get bad touched immediately afterwards, and it's not obvious how people deal with it. And I think he had to go in. Going in wasn't a good decision, but holding back, he would have gotten eaten huge. So I think it just this is a good matchup. I think now that Derek's like figured out the rhythm to it, it seems like this is like a really good matchup for 3 Icarus Cultist bricks.
Yeah,
and you could tell like on his bottom one, I was like, I already knew my threat ranges. I already knew that like I can basically kill the unit in the center, but the top unit was instantly dead right when he gave me that 10-man unit that didn't have the -1 damage. I know the statistics, like my Icarus Cultist unit is just going to eat them. Like it doesn't even matter. Like once you move them up and you give me that threat range, like if you can see in that picture, I think they're maybe 15-16 inches away. So even if I roll a 1 on the advance, that's a 9, so now you're within 5 inches. Wait, 16 inches minus 9, you're within 7 inches of me, so that's a 4-inch charge. Even if I roll 1 on the advance, that's a 4-inch charge, like to get to you. Like it's so you actually made a really great selection, and that you have two squads, you have two cold squads that can charge differently, and you made a great selection of choosing the green squad with the Dark Apostle to go into the Lamarty squad, and you sent the other squad up north to pile in. And that difference, I think that was actually like a good point I think you made, because the Dark Apostle squad's going to eat it, and you're going to kill them. You have tons more resources, and if they fight on death, which is most likely the place, you're going to start regenerating those. If they're going to fight on death, that's where they're going to do it. So like it was it's a great play and great game. And I think that segues us into the next game, which was against the Sisters player, Dutes. This guy was awesome. So if you look at the pictures, he did a Sisters Chaos theme. So he's got the Triumph, which has like a dark commune with a whole bunch of just demons flying. Like this was the coolest army I've seen. He's got Celestine with chains on her. He's got all the jump back chicks have all demon wings. He's got corn
he's
heads.
Minotaurs,
He's got Minotaurs with like actual WYSIWYG. He's got the grenade launchers with the meltas and the swords. Like this army was freaking beautiful. I had to take pictures because it was just so cool. The Minotaurs as the walkers were just hilarious.
So real quick, just to knock this out, Dutes, for people who don't know, is very big into the TTS community, and he's a very, very good player, really a Sisters expert. His list is also worth checking on. If you don't know it, this is like a very good standard kind of list. Or at least it's a representative of what's out there. He's playing a Canoness with a single example, a Canoness with jump pack through Strength and Suffering, Morven Vol. Oh, I'm sorry, this is Howled Martyrs. I should have said that. Saint Celestine. Saint Celestine's just going in a 5 of Seraphim. Got a Triumph of St. Catherine, which was really crazy, and we'll hear all about in a second. Just 3 little Archoflagellants to do stuff. A 10-man Dominion squad, which is usually gets split up, which it looks like it'll get split up in the emulators. 2x5 Seraphim, 10 Novitiates, which is they want for a little bit of scouting. 3 Cascaders, 2 emulators, and then the Paragon Warsuits to Morphin Vol. This is like pretty stock standard kind of stuff. If you see Hallowed Martyrs, you can see something like this. So tell us about your game, man. This was on the Patreon table, right?
Yeah, this was the first stream of the weekend. This was day 2 in the morning. And it was funny because we both knew we were going to play each other the night prior, like they post the pairings before, so you can kind of do some research. And we're talking at the end of the game, he's like, dude, honestly, I was like up all night looking at your list. I was like, there's literally nothing I can do. So he like went into the game knowing that. Obviously he told me after the game, he didn't tell me ahead of the game, because I would have just been so much more confident. But me looking at him, like, and looking, top player, knows his shit, like everybody was telling me like, watch out for this guy. So
He's very, very good.
Yeah, exactly. Like really, really good player. So I always love, obviously getting good games out of really good players at these GTs, because you get the best game as you can against the best faction that they're playing. So it's my first time going against Sisters with the new codex. So I had no idea what the fuck to do. So like, I play Sisters and I know kind of what they do and what to fear, but I know that the firepower from these guys, I can't sit back. I have to be aggressive. I texted my boy Sasha, who, another really good player, he won the golden ticket at ACO. He plays Sisters, and I was like, what do I do? He's like, just go after him. Like, be super aggressive, because if you wait too long, their miracle pool just grows so much that you really can't. They're just gonna fucking make every save that they possibly can, make every charge, make every damage roll. So I had to be super aggressive with them. So he played, I don't know if he played my list, but he knows of it because he plays Chaos. He just hasn't played the Chaos this edition. So this is his deployment. We played the diagonal all day in day 2. And I was fearful of his tanks, because I know his tanks have a lot of blast, a lot of bolt guns. Like, they have enough firepower to kill a unit every turn. So I had to get in combat or tie them up as soon as possible. And they told me to watch out for the walkers.
The Volgon combo. Morphin Vol and Paragon war suits.
Yep. Watch out for them, because late game they could really kill a lot. So I watched out for them, and then I wanted to kill Triumph as soon as possible. So he deploys Triumph on the line. He has first turn. He kind of moves up defensively, and I don't know if I have a lot of pictures. Yeah, so his turn 1 is him moving Celestine in the back behind the immolator. The chicks got out of the immolator, and I think he had a free reactive move, so he reactive moved them back into the immolator when I got close. So I committed turn 1. I scout moved up. I gave him some pot shots. He can shoot me if he wanted to. He decided not to. And then I rolled, I forget if I rolled high. I think I rolled...
Doesn't look like it.
Yeah, I think I rolled like a 3 or 4 maybe. So that got me to a little bit next to the Seekers. The Seekers then failed their charge. I wanted to get the Seekers in to block the immolator to try and kill the guys so they couldn't get out. But I was like doing the math. I was like, all right, I only need like an 8. I think it was a 6. I think I needed a 6 to charge the immolator, and then I could pile in to Triumph on the other side of the wall. So I rolled an 8, which got me a 10 because of Desperate Pact. So when he was doing the math, he didn't really assume that I could slingshot my guys like that to get into the Triumph. So he was like, all right, he's pretty confident that he wasn't going to get there. And then I was afraid of the countercharge from Celestine, because that's one way to kind of stop me from piling in, as he countercharged with Celestine and then blocks up all my guys. But I guess he didn't want to lose Celestine's squad that fast. So that was his mindset. My mindset is like, all right, I can pile in and get these 4 guys onto Triumph. And when I get these 4 guys on Triumph, the other 2 can kind of pile in and tie up the tank. And I don't want to get in a Celestine squad. So I'm staying outside of Celestine squad, getting into the tank. Turn 1, bottom 1. I make the charge, fail the charge with the Seekers. They get a reroll, fail again. But 4 dudes killed Triumph. Turn 1. He was shocked.
Yeah,
I was shocked.
That's a little hot, I think.
4 guys.
But it's a little high. It's not like too crazy for their variants. But I was gonna say, I bet he wasn't too worried about it. He's like, Triumph is tough, man. It's hard to kill. Yeah. But man, 2 damage adds up fast.
Yeah. So I think, I forget how many wounds. It's like 18 wounds.
18 wounds. So
only I needed 9. And I think what made me commit was, he said she has a 3-up, 4-up. I was like, I'm in. She doesn't have a 2-up, 4. She has a 3-up, 4-up. So having a 3-up, 4-up is what a Curse Cultist love to see, because 4-up saves, you die. Like, demons die. Greater demons die. So her having a 4-up save, I was like, all right, I'm going to kill her. Like, I was pretty confident going into her. Even if she doesn't die, she's going to be so whittled down that her attacks go down, everything goes down, and she can only do like 1 ability instead of 2. So I was like, all right, I'm just going to commit, tie up this side of the zone, because now I tied up basically Triumph, Celestine, 10 jump pack chicks, two vehicles, and a Canoness with the jump pack. Now the bottom, you can see I ran up the spawn on this side of the terrain because I had engage. So I wasn't able to get the engage in the top right because my guys are split. So I had the top, bottom, and then the right side. But the spawn helped me out a ton with this specific thing because he wasn't able to bring down his jump infantry on the bottom of the objective. So that way on my turn 2, or his turn 2, because he went first, I'm able to rapid ingress on the bottom to then start fighting for the bottom. This is ritual. So he's making objectives, I'm making objectives, but you can see, I hope I took a picture. Yeah, I took a picture of the next one where he brings up Celestine on my home field objective that I made. So you can see it's surrounded by everything. So Celestine is surrounded by a full green, a Chris Cultist, 2 Traitor Guardsmen,
and a regular cultist squad?
And maybe a regular cultist squad.
I think
so
they're
just surrounded. But before that happened, I shot everything into him. So I brought all the guys on. I just put all the shots into him. Now, knowing this now, Celestine could put the wounds onto the 2-up Gemini instead of the 3-up save chicks, which I didn't know. So once I started shooting at him, he's like taking all the 2-up saves. He rolled 52-up saves. So I didn't kill any of the people with shooting. I think I killed maybe 1. So I killed 1 Gemini to shooting, and then he's got a full unit before I charge in with Celestine. But at the top here, I killed Triumph again. He charges me with his insanely busted Canoness with jump pack, who has like 14 fucking attacks. I survived that. So actually, he charges in with a tank. He charges in with the Canoness. He charges in with Triumph because she got back up. Once I killed her, she got back up. Charges in with all these people. He fights with, I believe, Triumph because he knows he can fight on death. So he fights with Triumph first. I interrupt. I killed Triumph and the Canoness with like two or 4 dudes. Canoness then fights on death. Now, when she fights on death, she kills 4 guys.
Fights as if she's her bottom bracket. +1 to hit, +1 to wound.
Yeah. So that was really cool. But she killed 4 fucking dudes. Like,
she freaking slaps.
So she didn't kill as much as she thought. So I killed 2 more characters that turn. I killed the tank. The guys got out of the tank. He rolled a 1, a 1, a 2, and a 3. And on Desperate Breakout, when the vehicle explodes, it's a 1 through 3, you die. So, or mortal wound, whatever, but there's only 1 wound. So he killed 4 out of 5 of his own chicks when he got out of the vehicle. So it's just the Canoness and 1 girl left, and then 1 tank. So if you could look at the top, all he has left is the Canoness, 3 tanks, which my Demonettes made their 8-inch charge on turn 2. So that was clutch. They made their charge, so they tied up both those tanks, killed the Flagellants on the objective. My red squad advanced and charged, killed all of Vol's unit, tied up the other unit. So all he has left after turn bottom 2 is Vol, 4 tanks, 3 infantry, and a Canoness.
Good place to be for you.
So that's when we called it, and this was on the Patreon stream. So he has Celestine too, but he figured that she was going to die because I didn't roll out those attacks.
I think that's fair. I think Celestine is not pulling this one back, no matter how much the Emperor likes her.
So I think she would have got back up, but still, it would have just been Celestine and like a bunch of random tanks for secondary. So he wasn't really going to get a ton of secondary points. So I was impressed with how aggressive this list played, and I did make a couple, I made an 8-inch charge with the Demonettes, which helped out. I made the charge with the red guys down below, which killed a whole Vol squad. So it was just super aggressive. Didn't really have enough to take it out. So
that's pretty hard to take out the whole thing in one bite, but
so
very cool.
We called it after there, and again, good player, really good player, really fun to play. But he just kind of knew going into it that it was an uphill battle from the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it seems very tough match, and I think clearly that Litchfield has firepower. He just wasn't ready for the speed. And I think that's kind of the thing. You said it yourself. People don't get the speed. The speed is real.
All right, so we lost Doug. Doug had to go. We went a lot longer than we thought. So this is going to be a 2-part series, guys. If you guys are still with us, we're going to go over the Eldar Ynnari list, as well as the Game 6. We're going to go in Part 2 because we could literally do a whole video on that Game 6 because it was recorded. It was very intense. Clock was an issue, and Doug's going to come back for that. So we'll do that Part 2. But Part 1, we'll finish off with 5 games out of 6, and we'll just kind of tell you how we're going to wrap up and go into Part 2. So let's get into the Ynnari list. All right, cool. So Mike's got the list for us. Go ahead, Mike.
Cool. Yep. So we got Eldari, Battle Host. He's got a Farseer, Spirit Seer, a Yavrin Warlord.
Can't pronounce the names.
Then he's got Storm Guardian, Shroud Runner, Striking Scorpions, 2 units of Striking Scorpions, a 10-man Wraith Blade Brick. Then he's got Cabalite Warriors, 2 Mandrakes, 2 Reavers, a Ravager, and 2 Scourges. They both have one has Dark Lance, the other one has Haywire Blasters. I fucking hate that unit. He's got actually 2 units with the Dark Lances, and then a Venom.
This was such a good game. I wish this was recorded because this was such an awesome player. I think he's not newer, but he's newer in like the high up competitive scene. He's a local Texas guy. But this guy, I told him from the beginning, like, this is the best move blocking I've played against with this list. So a lot of MSU, a lot of move, shoot, move, a lot of Dark Lances. Like, this list will kill any vehicle list out there. That's probably why he's doing so well. I think he went 5-1 over the weekend. So I played 2 guys that went 5-1, 1 guy who went 4-2, and the other guy went 5-1. So I played a lot of 5-1 people, and then a guy, Blood Angels, I think, went 4-2.
Yeah, 4-2.
But yeah, I played a lot of really good people, and this guy was insanely good. His army looked freaking amazing. But we're playing this list. It's the one where you have to do Terraform, where you have to do an action.
Yeah. Yep.
Now, I don't know if I took a picture of it. Yeah, so this is turn 2. You could see he's literally on most of the objectives in the center.
Well, hold on a second. Go back, because you have a deployment picture, and so me just looking at this, because again I was playing too, but like, dude, so basically both of you like deployed on the fucking line.
Yes. Yeah, as far forward as we possibly can.
Yeah, Jesus Christ, dude. Like, even as so he's got the Wraith Blade dudes, everyone, everything is just on the line, dude. This is literally like, so okay, so walk me through, like, I'm gonna assume from his perspective it's just like, dude, 50-50 roll off, like, if I get it, boom, like, I'm doing full send, like, but it looks like you matched like his, like, basically that decision of like, if I go first, like, I'm going like all in. So like, walk me through that.
So we both have scout moves, and he wins the roll-off, so he goes first. Now his little jump pack guys, the bikes, the jet bikes, they scout 9, I think, and then they move 14. So they're basically as fast as my Seekers, but they have guns. So they're literally in front of the 2 objectives in the center and the bottom. So they're literally blocking off my entire right side of the board. So he did such good move blocking with those guys. He then put all of his other dudes on the objectives. So he was doing actions on, I think, on like 2 or 3 objectives. He terraformed all 3 in the center. His big sword infantry guys, the really tanky guys, they basically moved up, they charged my Nurglings on the other side of the wall, and then he tried to pile into my scout move yellow guys. So I scouted them up 6. He shot a bunch of shots into them, whittled them down. He killed a bunch of my traded guardsmen, which was smart on his part to just kill the traded guardsmen, because then I don't have a lot of secondary units. So he was doing exactly what he needed to do. He moved out a bunch of dudes, shot them, moved them back. Like, everything he was doing, like, was honed in. Like, he knew exactly how to run this list. It was really put together well. I really like his list. So on my turn, I was in combat already with his big brick unit with my unit. Right. So on turn top of 1, I scouted up. He fucking charged my Nurglings, which should have been 1 inch away from the wall, but I messed up. And then he piled into my yellow unit. So my yellow unit then moved up. I spent 1 CP, 4 rerolls to hit and wound. I think I killed like 3 of his big guys. Yeah. But his big guys also had -1 to wound. So it was really hard to kill them. And then on my turn, I popped my thing +1 to hit, +1 to wound with the unit that's already in combat. Let me fast forward to the next pick. Jeez. I basically was blocked out all 3 zones because he screened really, really well. So this bottom zone, he's got fucking literally everybody on that objective and the serpent thing. And then you could see the silver squad behind that bottom terrain piece. Mm-hmm. And then my green guys. So he doesn't want to shoot my green guys because then they'll pile in and do attacks. All these guys at the bottom here, they'll die. They're going to die really easily. So he doesn't want to get in combat with them. So he moves up his mandrakes, he moves up his scorpions, and blocks out the green guys again from getting to the objective. But his game-winning mistake on my part was his dudes that were in the serpent got out of the serpent, charged my dudes, the silver squad. And when he charged the silver squad, he wanted to pile onto my home objective. He charged them, left them within 6 inches of my green squad. Countercharge, put like 3 or 4 little guys into them and then 1 big guy. But then all the other big guys were able to pile into his screens. Right. So I killed 2 big 5-man units of screens, the 5-man that countercharged, and then I didn't pile in and I just cleared my side. So on his side now, all he has left is that little tank at the bottom, a 10-man guardian unit, and then he's got 2 tanks in the center. Yep. And then the top was just a bloodbath. Like, we kept fighting each other back and forth, but I had a rapid ingress at the top because I knew how to kill that big squad, or they were just going to keep coming back every turn. So on my turn with the +1 hit, +1 wound, I think I killed 3 or 4 more. And then in his turn, he brought 1 back. I rapid ingress my red guys at the top, so that way they're there to kind of countercharge and kill the big brick at the top. So if he didn't charge that silver squad at the bottom, I would have been move blocked again from the bottom objective. But instead, I was able to countercharge, kill most of his chaff. So all he had left was just random 5-man units, a 10-man unit, 2 or 3 tanks. And the guys all the way in the back. And then he had the Yunari chick that came down from Deep Strike and did some mortal wound shots into me. But in my turn, we called it, but in my turn, I would have been able to charge his big brick, kill it, and then just kind of camp both of the objectives. The spawn played a huge role because I made the guys OPSEC 0 on the top. Yep. They're right next to that building. So when they charged in, they made them OPSEC 0, so he wasn't able to get that objective. And then I made his tank in the center OPSEC 2, I believe, which then my 3 Seekers were able to steal the center objective as well. So Spawn actually played a huge role in this game. I cleared out the backfield most of the game, so that way his Yunari and uppy downy dudes couldn't come in my backfield. And the biggest play was he did really good with move blocking. He did really good with getting across the table with his really tanky unit. I'm sure he surprised a lot of people with that unit, especially with the -1 to damage, and then bringing a guy back every single turn. That was freaking nuts. And then the bottom move blocking, that countercharge is what really won me the game. Like, it would have been a slugfest. Like, I would have killed all of them next turn anyway, but still a turn in his turn, I killed him. So then my turn, I was able to move up and finish off the rest of the guys.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so what I think a big takeaway from this game, from my perspective, is like, this is something you're not going to see in the mid tables, right? Like this is I'm going to deploy on the line. If I get turn 1, I am going to win. And, again, like whether you realized it or not, or made the decision to basically match him of being like, well, fuck it, dude. Like, so let me ask you this, like, so who won the deployment?
I won the deployment. So that's why I put my Nurglings there, so I had some room to scout.
Yeah, fair.
I knew he had 3 or 4 scout units or infantry units, so I needed to place them first. That's why I put him in the building. And then he actually put his infiltrators right behind that brick basically right next to my deployment zone. So
yep, I see that.
His infiltrators were great. His scout move was great. He knew exactly how to run this list. That's why he went 5-1. But he knew that how I've been playing and what this list does is if he doesn't get out of his deployment zone, he never gets out of his deployment zone.
Right.
So that's why he moved everything on the left side of the objectives to keep me basically in my deployment zone so that way I can slowly try and fight onto the objective. So he did really, really well with move blocking, with screening, with killing my secondary units. Like I said, this player really, really good, Don. Did really well and was the best move blocker I've played at LSO.
Right. Well, I mean, he's got the movement to, and the units to do it. So I guess, and I'm pulling up. Do you remember what the score was? Pulling it up right now.
We called it on turn 3, so it was probably like 100 something.
Right, but I guess the point I'm making is like, so for us regular mid-table players here, it's like, so okay, I can see where you deployed the dudes in the Nurglings in the building, and then you can see where he deployed 1, 2, one behind the crates in the north, and then one behind that other what is it, octagon or whatever building, like kind of in the like lower third mid-table on the right. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at your deployment picture right now. So like he deploys that, but like at what point, like when did you realize he was deploying on the line? And then clearly it looks like you deployed on the fucking line, like to basically be like, okay, like I'm matching what you're doing now, because they're super fast. And so it's like, if I, and it's one of those things where it's like, if I'm in a position where I have a rapid ingress unit or I have a deep strike unit, and I decide during, when you declare that, when you roll for attacker defender, and it's like, okay, cool, like he's got this in deep strike, I have this in deep strike. Like, at what point did you decide, I'm putting everything on the line and just fucking YOLOing it in?
Yeah.
When did you decide that?
So I decide where I saw his big guys going, because
the Wraith dudes, the Wraith blades.
Yeah. If you look at this deployment, my game plan, if I went first, my yellow guys were actually right behind this building.
Yep, I see it.
Them. So they were right there. That's why he was able to kind of get into me with the charge of the Nurglings. Mm-hmm. But they were right there. So my mindset was I was going to scout move up my Seekers, advance them forward, and just move block this Wraith and the engine. So it would have been a big line where his kind of markers are. Mm-hmm. So I would just like kind of move block that entire unit and some of the battle engines there. And then my yellow unit was going to kill these scorpions on the top here, like move up and just charge them normally and just kill them off the table and then get on the objective. So I would have had my yellow unit ready to go turn 2 while he tries to get out of the Seekers. So his big guys would have been blocked. I then would have had the counter charge to go after his big guys on turn 2.
Right.
And then at the bottom, I moved up my green guys. They were going to be the ones to kind of move up and terraform on the bottom turn 1. If I had turn 1, so he would have had to kill the whole green squad to get rid of terraform. And in the center, I put the green guys, the traded guardsmen, in case I had to do something in the center, like a Arrow of the Nile or something like that. So that was my game plan going into turn 1. Since he had turn 1, he had basically the same game plan as I did. He just had to kind of scout move up, advance or move up forward and then just kind of block me out, which again, we both had the same mindset because his big guys got across the table just like my yellow guys were going to get across the table. So again, both ways were almost exactly played the same way, except he won the roll off and he got to go before I did.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, just like even looking at this second picture, like basically there are multiple combats happening literally across the entire midfield. Like turn 2, because your seekers are still up. They're into one of the boats. Like his army looks sick both armies look sick, but no, like, so interesting point, right? Like so way back in the day, in the days of dial-up, I played StarCraft and was like obsessed with the obviously the online games stuff. And then 20 years later playing StarCraft 2 online, now I'm older and so I'm getting back into the game and I'm researching just because YouTube's like a thing now, and I'm like looking at all these top players. I'm watching like the insane tournaments. Like, dude, like in South Korea, like StarCraft is basically like their version of like football or baseball. Like it is. It's insane how popular StarCraft is, over there. Anyway, so I'm watching how these top players play, and then I would try that shit, like, essentially in the mid-tables, and, like, the same plays just don't fucking work, right? Like, you're not going to see those plays, at the lower brackets. And I think this is a great example of like two players who understand clearly what they want to do, how they want to do it. And, he realized this army can pin me in my zone. So I'm just going to put everything on the line and then hopefully win the roll off and then attempt to pin him in his line. And then you see in the second picture, if you pull that up right now, like, I mean, fuck, dude. It's like basically the majority minus your rapid ingress unit. Like basically both armies all engage or, prep to engage in the mid board turn 2. Like that just is insane to me. But right, like at the higher tables, like you have to take those risks. And he did win the roll off, which I think. What was the score for this? Do you remember?
I think we gave him 50, so it was 150.
Jeez. I mean, yeah, I mean, just insane. So even, let me ask you this. Like, so if you had won the roll off, how much, I guess there's too many variables, but it's like, I know you had yellow squad, like primed, like ready to go. Could your yellow squad have reached out and touched, the Wraithblade dudes turn 1? Because that is 24 inches.
Yeah, I don't think I would have done that. I think I would have done the killing the guys at the top and then block off the Wraith Guard and just save them for a turn. Right. Because then at least I could have some room to bring in my red guys. So if my red guys come in and they do make a 9-inch charge, it's basically game over right there. But then at the bottom, these green guys, he gave me a charge target next to that building. Yeah. So he gave me a slingshot target, which is one of the downsides to playing against this list. Yeah, if you infiltrate and give me a slingshot for free, I'm going to take it every single time. Like, if you give me Nurglings are my kryptonite, I have to kill the Nurglings as soon as possible. So you put them near me, I'm going to kill them turn 1. So if I move the green guys up, and I can advance them for 1 CP, so advance them and charge them. If they move up 8, advance, let's say 3 or 4, I can then get a charge onto these guys, kill them, consolidate into basically his entire front line. The bikes, the 2 vehicles, and even tag his 1 unit of Wraithguard. Now his Wraithguard's in combat. All 2 vehicles, the bikes are in combat, and then he's just stuck in his deployment zone. Right. While the Seekers are right next to him. So it's like, it would have been bad if I got turn 1. Right. Yeah. But again, like, and it's interesting, looking at this, and then especially like the previous Blood Angel player, like playing him literally the round prior. It's just super interesting to see the difference in deployment. But like, he should have been more
more centrally located, and because he's got the movement over you, like, naturally, to respond to basically switch a flank, which I think he should have switched flanks. But like, yeah, just wild, dude. And again, I've played against a different version of this, but conceptually the same thing at that RTT when we ended up round 3. And I mean, it's just suffocating. It's just like, dude, I don't have enough attacks in shooting or melee to just fucking punch through all of these bodies.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing is like
it's suffocating.
I told you this at the tournament, like I didn't notice it until this GT where it's like turn 2 and 3 you really realize there's just too many bodies. Like turn 1 you're like, all right, I'm getting used to it, I'm shooting a bunch of guys, it's whatever. And then turn 2, 60 more bodies come onto the table and it's like, fuck, I literally have nothing to do to deal with this. Like you might have killed one Accursed Cultist or whittled one down, whatever it may be, but now there's a whole nother Accursed Cultist unit that's about to advance and charge into your lines that you thought were going to be good, and then I bring on 40 more or 50 more bodies with them. So I reserve the Demonettes Deep Strike, I reserve 20 Cultists, and I reserve 20 Traded Guardsmen and the Accursed Cultists. It comes out to exactly 500 points, and then whatever the Demonettes is. So it comes out exactly what I need it to come out to. So on turn 2, I usually bring in the Traded Guardsmen wherever I need them to come in at, whether it be move blocking, potentially getting a 9-inch charge, but mainly shooting. And then the Accursed Cultists are there to either, if I go first, I can bring them in and potentially make a 9-inch charge, or save them until I really need them for a rapid ingress. But if I go second, always rapid ingress them, like every single time, top of turn 2, and then the rest of them, all 50 more bodies come onto the table, which is just flood the table. And again, turn 2 and 3, you really realize, I had no hope. Like, there's nothing I can do. Like, it's just such a crazy list that if you're not prepared or haven't faced it before, it's eye-opening, because you can try all different ways, but then I can try to play it differently as well. Like you saw the one way I played it. Well, now I can redeploy my other guys this way. You can come this way. I can then rapid ingress up here. Like there's so many different ways to just surround your opponent with this list. It's crazy. So.
Right. So 2 things I want to talk about before we shut this down, and then do the final game, which again, Doug saw on live stream, so he's got like a ton of commentary for that. I was dealing with Blood Angels over in the mid tables, but like, okay, so 2 questions. One, like, what did you have to do in your practice, like, to get ready for this? And I say that because, like, we've played a bunch of games in between, getting ready for this, and like, I never played this list, right? Like, you're playing Grey Knights, you're playing Dread Talons. So like, what did you do, and how did you get ready to run so many bodies on the table, and like essentially stay generally within time, to not clock out at a point in the game that's like detrimental?
So I actually made, I think it was a GT video on like preparation for a GT.
Right.
But when you're going to a GT,
we should like that, but by the way.
Yeah, so basically you want to practice the list that you're most likely going to be bringing to a GT, and when you practice each time, you want to only tweak little things here and there. You're not changing like tons of different units, you're not changing the detachments, you're basically changing little things here and there. I might try different weapons on one squad, I might change out this 10-man to a 5-man, I might change a 5-man to a 10-man, I might change different leaders, whatever it may be. But for me, I practiced before ACO. I was practicing Abaddon to see if Abaddon's worth the CP. I practiced Vastor just to see if I needed a big, FU tank target. And then I practiced more like basically this list, but without Demonettes. Like more, I think I did the Beastmen, which were like the worst unit in the Chaos Codex. Like you don't run Beastmen at all. So I tried all different variations, and once I found out that I didn't need the big targets, I could just do more cultists, and the Curse cultists are just the best way to run them. Then I just keep practicing that list every single time I play the game, and I bring it to an RTT. I see how it does out of 3 games, and then I keep practicing the list. But every single time I practice, whether it be my opponent or me, I play a clock. And every time I play a clock, it's either 110 minutes or 120 minutes. So that way I'm like, when I do deployment, I start at 120 minutes. And if you really want to go super hardcore, you do 110-minute practice, because that gives you 20 minutes leeway to get like deployment down and go over your list and stuff like that, and then start the game. Most of the time you could do talking to your opponent and deploy within like 5 minutes, sometimes 10.
10.
So it gives you, it gives you 120 minutes per side. So if you're practicing 110 minutes for your side, especially with this list, you should almost never clock out. So when you're practicing your game, whether it be this list or your normal list, practice clock every single time. If your opponent doesn't want to play it, no worries. You're practicing hitting the clock for both people, because you're probably going to do that at a tournament anyway. And when you're practicing the clock, you're practicing your time mainly. Like, you're seeing if you're going to clock out. You don't care about your opponent. If your opponent clocks, you're not practicing that. You're practicing your time, your movement, shooting, assault, and charge phases. So that would be my suggestion: is minimal changes to list, practice a shit ton, and practice clock. And that's going to be your best like GT preparation you can. And with this list, it's all about clock. Clock management is is key, honestly.
Right. So, okay. So for an example, right? Like, so I ran one ACDC unit, even in veterans, which they get no detachment support. They get no strat support, but it is still such a strong unit, literally on its own. But like, I found myself, especially against Blood Angels, round 6, like turn 2, like multiple combats, like my turn 2 looked like your turn 2 against this Eldar player, where it's just like there are combats happening all over the table. I've got ACDC with multiple, I've got the big guys, and then I got to roll the small guys, and then I've got like a Legionnaire squad, 2 Legionnaire squads, and I've got Terminators like in the south. And then, he's got his whole, Death Company 10-man, a Death Company 5-man, and then Fight on Death for the Assault Intercessor. So, like, our turn 2, like, we didn't move slow. Like, we moved fast. We got into combat fast. But, like, just the fight phase took fucking forever. Just with everything happening, like, literally across from, like, the entire midfield was fucking combats everywhere. So like, do you do any practice like on your own, just by yourself?
I did during COVID.
Okay, fair.
Like, when I really can't like get a game in, most of the time I'll just like theory craft, make lists, talk to you guys, kind of like see what do you think about this list, stuff like that. So always bouncing lists off of each other, because at this point of the game you can almost like make a list and determine what's going to happen with your list. Like, you're almost running the scenarios out, like, all right, this combo is these guys can advance and charge, they get critting on 5s, they can counter charge, whatever it may be. So you're almost like playing the list out in your head before you even put it on the tabletop. And then when you put it on the tabletop, you're like, wow, that was a terrible idea, let's never do that again. Or like, wow, that actually worked, let's kind of build off of that idea. But no, I don't usually like play with myself. It's more of just like theory crafting and bouncing ideas off the teammates or dirtbags or patrons or whatever it may be. So
right. So for me, like, coming from
prep. Like, you're the opposite. You do a ton of prep. Like, you make data sheets, you do map, you kind of plan out where you're going to deploy everything, all that stuff. And it's kind of like, you are that type of person where you need to have everything organized ahead of time, where you can kind of plan out each mission, each objective that you're doing per game, and your deployment, you're like, all right, I'm going to deploy everything here this exact way before you even go to a GT. So I think your GT prep would help out a lot of people compared to how I go into a tournament. Like, how I go to a tournament, my practice in clock is really good, but your actual like organization is what helped out a lot of Dirtbags on the channel.
Yeah, so the way I view this, like coming from competitive shooting, where like the best analogy would be like me practicing like rolling stats, right? So it's like, okay, like ACDC, for example, you know, I've got the 6 guys in combat. I'm going to roll 6d6 plus 12. And I'm going to pick like a different unit in my mind of like, okay, am I hitting on 5s? Am I hitting on 3s? You know, am I hitting on 2s? Like with explodes, like or lethals, like what does that look like? In competitive shooting, that would be the equivalent of like dry fire, of like draws and reloads, or like moving my gun from position to position, or like while I'm working out, I'm like literally running, or I'm working on like sprints. But like coming into this game, a turn-based, you know, tabletop tactical game, what I realized right off the bat was like I'm at like year 1, year 2, and like I'm playing against people who've been doing this for 10 years. So like you naturally look at the game and you're like, oh, well, like obviously I'm going to deploy something like this. And for me, I'm like, and that's me wasting time at a GT, like thinking about it. And so like, it's like, okay, if I can determine that prior to even going, then I don't have to think about that during the GT. And so for me, like a lot of the practice is, you know, of course, like, you know, getting games in, but then it's just like having the deployment in my mind prior and like my general strategy. And then it's like, I mean, the board is the board, right? So I'm either going left, center, or right. And I'm just going to choose like, where do I load up like a side? But you know, what I think is interesting is like what you do to prep like for GT. And like, the nice thing about the Dirtbags and like Doug and I is, you know, Doug and I are generally, you know, at the same bracket, and, you know, you're at a higher bracket, and there's some of the other Dirtbags who are at higher brackets, middle brackets, low brackets, where we can kind of like pool ideas to, like, for example, like I made a straight up Quizlet for like the secondary. So like if I'm taking a shit at work, I'm like reviewing the Quizlets of like what are the new secondaries, because there were a couple times, and I didn't get as many practice games as I wanted to, but like I straight up would finish my turn and go to score and be like, fuck, I like didn't even do like containment. And that was against the Blenders player, and he's like, well, do you want to, like, you could have, do you want to take it back? And I was like, no dude, like I'm not taking that shit back, because I fucking fucked that up, and we're way too far to you know, to do that. But I think it's important, like, you know, because we talked about this on the plane ride back, like is your detachment going to get nerfed? And it's like, what are they going to nerf? Like, okay, cool, they nerf ACDC, you lose a cultist squad. If they increase the points of cultists or traitor guardsmen, well, that's going to affect every other detachment. Like, what are you going to affect the Seekers or the Demonettes or the Nurglings? Well, that's going to affect not only every other detachment, but that's going to affect like another faction. And then it comes down to like, are you going to be the person who's going to spend the time to like put in the work that you have? And that's not even like the work you did just in like practice games and RTTs. Like that is just 10 years of how long you've been playing competitively, including War Machine.
War Machine was like 7 years. 40k I started when I was like 16 in college, so it was like college, competitive, right, like couple local small games, and then picked it really back up in 9th. So I played really competitive War Machine for like 5, 6, 7 years. COVID, 9th edition, Dirtbags. So like I've been competitive tabletop for like, I would say 10 years maybe.
Yeah, that's fucking insane. And so it's like, for me, coming in beginning of 9th edition, COVID happens, like my time under tension is, you know, I've only played 400 games. And so the way I think about it is like, you know, it's I think Kobe Bryant said it, it's like if you practice 5 minutes more a day than like your opponent, or whoever else, then 5 minutes times 365, like you're going to make up significant time. So I think for newer players coming into it, like it might seem, and it also depends on like what culture you jump into. Like I luckily found all of you guys and I was like, yo, like not only is this the shit, but like I've got people who are cool to like help me learn the game, help me learn, develop, you know, and give me the games. Kind of like when you mentioned like the 16-year-old I played, and I realized right off the bat, like the kid's super nervous. It's his first GT, and you know, during like the first initial like 10-15 minutes, I was like, all right, like I'm gonna give this kid 5 turns, versus like what happened to my son. Unfortunately, like he gets smashed turn 2, gets tabled, and it's just like he's just hanging out for 2 hours. So I mean, I think like prepping for the tournament is as important as like tournament play. And like, you know, you and I talked about this a bunch as far as like you were so close, like multiple GTs, like you were like right there. And it's like for you specifically at the higher tables, it was Doug texting you being like, dude, do not forget like these 3 things, right? And it was like, dude, we're not going out boozing, getting totally fucking wasted. Like, dude, we play 9 hours, go out to dinner, have a couple drinks, like talk to other dirtbags and other players, and like, dude, we're in bed by like 11:30. Maybe midnight is like a late night at a at a GT for us. And then we're getting up at, you know, 8-9 o'clock, and then, you know, getting ready to like whoop it on. So all of that shit like matters if you're trying to do well at any table, whether you're like, I was 1-2 going into day 2, and then I won my first 2 games, lost the last game, you know, ended up 3-3 versus like LVO going 1-2, resetting, recocking, waking up the next day and going 3-0. I mean, it's all part of the like the performance like of the day.
Yeah,
So
that's a huge difference. Now, I mean, I think you guys started saying it recently where you have to get better almost like one game at a time. Like you're not going to go from new player to pro overnight unless you've had like a ton of experience. Like Dave Anderson, I think, is a great example of somebody that went fucking overnight really good into the meta because he played competitive
Magic.
No, he played Hero
Crisis Protocol.
That's what it is. Yeah, so he played that competitively worldwide. So using that same mindset into 40k, it was an easy transition. Just like me with War Machine to 40k, it was an easy transition. So, but if you're like brand new to tabletop game, you can't expect to come in and just like win all your fucking games.
Hell no.
You learn the most by losing and getting better every single time. So like the whole point of us is to like teach people the basics. That's really what 40k Dirtbags is all about, is learning the basics so that way you win more games. If you know the basics of 40k, the core rules, the stratagems, like the deployment, the movement phase, all that stuff, you just know that, you can play any army. You can literally pick up any army, put it on the table, and win more of your games if you learn those core stratagems. And that's what we're trying to teach at the Dirtbag Nation, because with you, I can't put my brain in your brain. I can't like have you look at this game the way I look at this game, because it's just the experience, the amount of games that I have under me. It's hard to teach that, but I can teach you how to get around fight first. I can teach you how to counter charge, how to move, how to set up, how to deploy, how to counteract, like whatever maybe. I can teach you those core things, and then you can use those and learn the little tidbits that maybe I couldn't teach you up front, but as you play the games, you'll learn that more and more as you get better and better at the game. Like there's going to be stuff that somebody did to me, and I'm like, fuck, that's a great move. I'm going to steal that. I'm going to use that in the next 50 games that I play. But again, it just takes practice, takes time, it takes repetition, just like shooting. Like everything you do is just repetition, practice, and just keep doing the same thing over and over. But getting slowly better every single time you play. If you keep doing the same thing but not getting better, then you're not doing the right thing. So you're not stepping up your game one thing at a time. Like doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result, insanity, it's not going to happen that way. Like you have to learn and be a good student. A lot of people that I play at RTTs, I might just bring up a chair, sit down, and just coach them like what I'm about to do to them, because that's the best way to learn. But if they like get all butthurt and like throw a temper tantrum, like that is not a coaching student, or that's not a student I want to teach. That's a guy that just says, "Hey man, good game, good luck," and then just like kind of walk away. But if somebody's like, "Oh shit, that's awesome! Like wow, how did you do that?" Like shit like that. Like you were one of the best students I've had. That's probably why we bonded so fast with this game, because you got your ass kicked so many times but you kept coming back for more. Like you kept coming back wanting more to learn more, and that's when I was like, dude, this guy has it. Like this guy could be really good at the game starting from scratch, like who's never played fucking tabletop games ever. So those are the best students. Those are the best guys. Looking yourself in the mirror. If you are that guy that throws a temper tantrum, makes excuses, blames the dice, this game is just never going to be fun for you. But somebody that like knows statistics and can understand dice rolls and understand that every game is different. You might have bad games, you might have good games. That's going to be the person that's going to be good at mid-tables, have fun at GTs, and eventually maybe win a couple RTTs and teach other players that are going to grow your community. Very rare you're going to see like, oh wow, this one person that never played the game before came in and won a major.
Yeah.
I don't know who did that. Like me, 10 years, finally won my first major. Like, yeah, that's 40k. Like this meta is so competitive. It's gonna take a shit ton of practice and getting your ass kicked multiple times to eventually learn how to win an RTT. And then when you win your first RTT, then you can start branching out and like learning how to step up and play side GT. And then you win a GT, and then you go to major, and then you win a major. Like that's really what it's gonna come down to.
Yeah, for sure. I think Dave, the guy you're talking about before, said it the best. He was like, and Dave's smart as shit. He works in finance, and he's like, we're at the dinner, and he's like, dude, getting like prepping and preparing and executing for a GT is harder than Series 7. And, even from my background, like preparing for this, like is mentally, it's a complete mind fuck. And it's like, I used to get headaches, after like an RTT, and, everything from like the food you eat to are you hydrated to like, I know you hate it, but like we go to Vegas, I'm like, drink this vitamin C pack. Cause
Mike's like throwing water at me.
Cause like, you don't need to be sick. Like,
Mike's
day 2.
He's my medic behind me.
But like for sure, man. And then again, it's just like reasonable expectations. And it's like, there's so many times in 40K where just like, dude, you can be the biggest math hammer stats nerd ever. And my favorite analogy is like, how many times are you just walking down the street? There's no trips, there's no curves, there's anything. And you just trip on your own 2 feet. Well, that's rolling 2 6s or that's rolling fucking 2 1s, right? Like it just fucking happens. And like, you have to laugh at like the wild shit that the dice put into play. Again, like you can have mitigating factors for like, I'm not going to charge unless it's a fucking 7-inch charge, right? Like, or I'm getting pluses of my charge or whatever. Like I am putting these mitigating risk factors into play into my, where I'm putting my models. But it's like, you play so many games where like guys are like, oh man, like the fucking dice affected it. And it's like, no, dude, like you put that unit within 6 inches charge range of my guys. So like statistically, like, yeah, I'm going to get that charge more often than not. And then it's like, well, what unit is it? Like, I'm going to kill that unit more often than not, or I'm not even going to fucking do the charge.
Yeah, it's like,
which
I
again,
can make these 3 9-inch charges out of deep strike. Dice suck, It's like, no, bro, you plan to fail those charges. Like, you just got to learn that I'm not going to rely on a 9-inch charge. Like, maybe with a reroll, I might make 1 out of 5, but like, I'm not going to try and like, oh, I'm going to deep strike my
that's not my game plan. Yeah. Cool. Awesome, man. Well, this was awesome.
This is great.
Hopefully the dudes like it, and then we'll do the final game as part 2.
Yeah, make sure you guys are sharing this as much as humanly possible. Hit the subscribe and notification so these videos actually pop up for you guys. Head over to Discord if you guys haven't heard us say it 1,000 times. Like, there's a ton of great people and dirtbags over there. If you guys want the coaching like we just talked about for the last 20 minutes, like, that is what you'll get at the Dirtbag Nation. If you guys want any of us specifically as a coach, just make sure you mention that. I'm going for #1 Chaos Space Marine player this year. I was #2 last year, but with the run that we have and the list that we're running, hopefully we get up to that part, and all the dirtbags, you know, seeing more and more at GTs, just growing the brand name, growing everything. Like, Mike's gonna hopefully step up and do like the merch. Like, he's gonna be he has the experience. He's basically just gonna turn on a switch and be like, hey, here's all the jerseys, here's all the hats, here's all the shirts. That's gonna be coming up once we hit 10,000 subscribers, so super pumped about that. But guys, appreciate clicking on the video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed as much as you possibly can. I told you this is going to be a longer video. If you guys like it, please comment below if you like this type of content and if you want a podcast, because me, Mike, and Doug can literally talk for hours, as you could tell, about this shit and 40K. So again, if you like it, comment below. Let us know what you think about it. Head over to Discord. Let us know about that. And guys, I appreciate it. Good luck. Mike, any outro?
No. Later, guys. Take care.
Right,
Have
guys,
fun.
We'll see you in another video soon. What's up, gents? 40k Dirtbags here. If you guys are thinking about joining the Patreon page, we're going to go over each tier and how it's going to benefit you and what you're looking for specifically to get out of 40k in 10th edition coming up. There's a lot of stuff to go over. There's a lot of tactical videos up on the channel, which is for free. There's going to be a bunch of perks that you get specifically for being a part of the Dirtbag Nation Patreon page. So first off, we have the first tier, which is $1 a month. You guys get first access to the videos over at patreon.com. You also get access to the Discord, which is specifically a private link in the Discord that only Patreon members can see. So you guys will have first access to that. Also a benefit is Patreons over the Dirtbag Nation get live streamed games on patreon.com streamed from YouTube, but this only links specifically for the patreons.com. So not only do you get first access to these videos, you also get to see live stream games specifically only on patreon.com. The next tier is the Justicar. You guys get a shout out on every single video on YouTube. You also get to support us a little bit more. You get first dibs at voting on Discord, as well as you just kind of say, hey, I just want to be a Justicar dirtbag and support you guys a little bit more than that $1 a month tier. But you get all the same access as well as the different color over on the Discord. So the third tier is the competitive dirtbag. This tier, you get a lot more one-on-one coaching. This is a lot of the dirtbags over on the Dirtbag Nation. They are able to send out messages one-on-one, go over list ideas, tactics, anything you guys want to talk about. When I was getting into 40K, or really any game in general, I always wanted to message the top players in the meta and just ask them questions. This $10 a month tier gets you that opportunity to message us one-on-one on Discord, so that way we can actually coach you, give you our insights, suggestions, and that's going to get you better at the 40K 10th edition as a whole. So that tier alone, just $10 a month to have one-on-one coaching, one-on-one messages anytime throughout the month, that's going to be a perfect tier for you guys. Even if you're brand new to the game, we go over 1,000 point list, 1,500 point list, 2,000 point brand new starting list, team list, anything you guys need. That's what the competitive dirtbag tier is for. Also, you get a little bit red number name tag on Discord, so people know that you're really serious about getting into the competitive scene. The Grandmaster Dirtbags. This is the all-in-all $25 a month tier. You get one-on-one coaching, everything we said prior to this, but you guys get to see me, Mike, any of the other dirtbags play your specific list that you want to see tested out live on one of our battle reports. You guys get to mention, suggest videos you guys want to see coming up on patreon.com. So you guys get the above first tier benefit of everything that we do over at Dirtbag Nation. All the support mainly comes from you guys supporting us over here at Dirtbag Nation. And Grandmasters, I can't thank you enough, but for $25 a month, you get one-on-one coaching and anything you want to see live on the tabletop. So you get to see a professional play right in front of you. You guys get to kind of like see it one-on-one, and I'm actually making this specifically for you. There's also TTS events that you guys can suggest. If you guys want to do a first 1 or 2 turn run through on TTS, we can actually log in and coach you one-on-one with that. If you guys see us at any GTs, you guys get special benefits, free dice, stuff like that. Anytime you purchase a merch
thing on Discord, you guys get a free limited edition Dirtbag dice sent to you with every single purchase on top of that. So there's a lot of benefits coming up with the Grandmaster Dirtbag. You guys, I can't thank you enough for supporting us. Definitely let me know which tier would be best for you if you go over to patreon.com and specifically go to a tier. And make sure you don't forget to message me up on Discord. That's where we check every single day. If you guys are really into getting into 10th edition 40k, head over to Patreon, join the competitive Dirtbag or the Grandmaster. Message me as many times as you possibly want, and I'll coach you the best I possibly can on any specific army that you guys play. Mainly our armies right now, currently, going into 2024 is going to be Chaos Space Marines, Grey Knights, Death Guard, and then we have Custodes, Sisters, and I think that's it going into the Wings of 2024. But again, any other army that you guys play, we have other coaches lined up for the Dirtbags that are ready to take on that role of the competitive Dirtbag page. So guys, really appreciate it. Thanks for clicking on the video. Thanks for joining the Dirtbag Nation if you guys are already part of us. And we'll see you in another video soon.